It's Fully Threaded Radio, episode 169.
So, last week, just kind of scrolling through the social media, and all of a sudden, I come across the news of where Linfast purchased Solution Industries, and John Coolham Butler, you're the voice of Solution Industries, and my thought is just
I had worked in proprietary fasteners, so the special rivets, lock bolts, inserts, things of that nature. But I really hadn't known standard product. And then we had a gentleman come into our facility by the name of Ed Lacera, Fast Eddie Lacera.
I've heard good things about the man, yeah.
I love Ed Lacera. He was the best.
And Eddie came in and...
It's time for Fully Threaded Radio.
It is Fully Threaded Radio, voice of the FCH Sourcing Network. If you buy, sell, manufacture, import, try to import, or just really like the thought of industrial threaded fasteners, this is the podcast for you. We're glad you clicked in. Hi everyone, Eric Dudas here, and the co-host of Fully Threaded is with me as well. Joining us from the FCH Data Lab, where he's no doubt busting out our latest scrubber project, it's Brian Musker. Hey Bri, doing all right?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good actually. I'd probably be doing a lot even better if certain of our members stopped buying up certain other members. I mean, I know this is part of the natural order of consolidation, but it's sort of going a little bit too far.
Yes, I think that's a sentiment that's shared widely out there. A lot of big news in the acquisition space this time around, folks. And Brian, you're speaking no doubt of the big news with Lindstrom Solution, and then most recently, Brighton Best and their Vertex acquisition, which is just out yesterday. Actually, I don't know if it was supposed to get out yesterday, but there it is. We'll be talking a little bit about that on today's episode. That's one of the big pieces of headline out there, but there's also the supply chain issue. I mean, it's not going away, is it?
Yeah, I mean, you could have said if you import or are interested in fasteners or are waiting to import them, which is sort of pretty much the case at the moment.
I don't think we're surprising any fully threaded listeners with any of this, Bri. So let's just say we'll touch on it all and a lot more on this episode 169 of the podcast. This time we're publishing on October 21st, 2021. A little bit late this time. Life gets in the way. It's not just ports that delay things, a lot of other stuff. But here we are, and once again, we're very glad that you've clicked in, everybody. As we're faced with the delays, more and more people are thinking about alternatives to getting product. One way, and we've talked about this several times in the past, could be additive manufacturing technologies. Now, although we're probably not going to be looking at mass-produced fasteners using additive anytime soon, there are lots of other reasons to be thinking about 3D printing, otherwise known as additive manufacturing, and Würth Industry is at the forefront of this. So our opening segment today is a conversation with Achim Grenner. He's with the Würth Additive Group, and he'll answer the question, is Würth going to start printing fasteners? And if so, when? Plus a whole lot of other details. Don't miss this.
Cool.
It's really a double feature episode today because I think that's a pretty big one that we'll kick off with. But also, we've got sort of a freestyling conversation with three Fastener Tough Mudders led by Jake Valdez Davis, along with John Coolham Butler of the Olander Company and Jill Lewis of Associated Fastening Products. Recall that all three of these folks were on the team that dominated the obstacle course back in August. And they start their conversation by reflecting on that a little bit, but then they move on to talk about lots of other topics, including the supply chain disruption situation, the new hiring environment, working with buyers on price hike issues, and of course, the solution acquisition. John Butler, as many of you know, has been the voice of Solution Industries, or more accurately, Solution Man.
Right.
Now the big question, Bri, will he proceed with his plans to get that Solution Man tattoo?
Or will he just take the cape off and put it in the cupboard?
Yes. Well, find out. Listen to today's second feature segment. On the Fastener News Report today with Mike McNulty, I tell you, he is in rare form again this time, and you'll learn that Mike McNulty, a lifetime Cleveland Indians fan, is now a free agent. What does he mean by that? Well, you'll find out. He's also going to speak with AIS President Nick Ruetz to cover the Fastener Distributor Index. Plus, there's a very special report this time on the Fastener News Report. Industrial Distribution has announced their Big 50 list, and head editor over at ID, Mike Hockett, joins in with a summary on all of that. Pretty interesting stuff. It was a dramatic year for the Big 50. And on the Fastener Training Minute, Carmen Vertullo explains, well, let's put it this way. Carmen was in a bit of a mood this time, Bri. He's going to talk about wax nuts. And it's a very real thing in the fastener industry. And we'll just say no more. We'll let Carmen roll with that one.
Okay.
And don't click out too early today, folks, because if you hang till the end, we're going to wrap up today with a few comments from IFE manager Morgan Wilson, and he's going to address the carpet controversy from this year's Vegas show.
Oh, okay.
People were talking about it. He wanted to jump on, set the record straight on that. Don't miss it. All that and who knows what else will shoehorn into this thing, Bri. But right now it's time for you to jam in the list of our fine sponsors.
Yeah, you're right. We're lucky. We have great sponsors, and they've been with us for years. The title sponsors of Fully Threaded Radio are Brighton Best International, Gerbil Fasteners, and Star Stainless Screw Company. Brighton Best International, tested, tried and true. Gerbil Fasteners, quality the first time. Star Stainless Screw Company, right off the shelf for over 70 years. Also sponsoring Fully Threaded Radio are Buckeye Fasteners, BTM Manufacturing, Eurolink Fastener Supply Service, Fastener Fair USA, InSequel Software, ND Industries, Parker Fasteners, Stelfast, 3Q Inc., Volt Industrial Plastics, Würth Industry North America, and Solution Industries, home of Solution Man. Thank you to all of our sponsors. They keep this whole thing going and make it possible. And if you are a listener and you're thinking of fasteners, then think of these sponsors first, okay?
Good advice, Bri. Thank you, sir. And thanks also to all of you for clicking in today. We appreciate it when you tell your friends, your associates about the podcast, because it's our best way of spreading the word. That helps our sponsors. That in turn helps us. You know how it works. So we appreciate it. There are a lot of new listeners all the time, actually, because of that cycle. And I'll point out that there are a whole lot of past episodes of the podcast, and we try to keep a certain portion of each episode evergreen so that you can go back over the years and listen to some fastener words of wisdom from a huge list of fastener industry luminaries. It's all out there for you. At least it is at the moment. Get them while they're hot.
Actually, right. I mean, over the years, we have interviewed a lot of luminaries in the industry, actually. And if you search back through the summaries, you'll find them, all sorts of people.
One of these years, we'll put that into some kind of an organized format, but that's out there. Well, there's a lot to get to today, Bri, so we won't prattle too long, but I do want to say at the top of the episode here today, in the midst of all of the tumult and chaos, there is one bit of order coming our way, and that's Fastener Fair USA. It's happening in Cleveland, November 8th through the 10th. And a lot of people are excited about this because if things hold, in other words, we keep stable, we're not taking it for granted, but we're hoping that we do.
Right.
The fastener industry will converge in Cleveland for this event. And there's, frankly, a lot of excitement around this. I don't know. You're getting ready to come out, right?
Yep. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I actually like Cleveland as a place to have a show, I have to say that, because I get a chance to go to some of the restaurants around there, and there's some really good restaurants within walking distance of where the show is.
And let's face it, it's a fastener kind of town. The North Coast Fastener Association will be hosting a welcoming event. That'll be at a place called the Punch Bowl, which is not quite a walk away. You could if you wanted to. It might be a little chilly in November, but it's not far. It'll be, put it this way, a really fast Uber over there. It's in an area of the city known as the Flats, which is known for its fun and games, meaning bars. And the Punch Bowl itself is one of those kinds of places, and the NCFA is looking forward to welcoming as many in the fastener industry as can fit there. That, of course, is being sanctioned by the Fastener Fair people. They'll be kicking in a little bit to support this. I'm not sure how. That's all being planned out now. As a matter of fact, I know Marty and Jackie are heading out to a NCFA board meeting tonight to put the final details on that. So FastenerFairUSA.com is the place you want to go to check this out, register. The floor plan is out there, and FCH Sourcing Network will have a booth. We are strategically located, Bri, right next to Eurolink. And
good.
Yeah, and right across the aisle from that is the Monster Buckeye booth, plus a whole lot of other familiar faces all across the show floor.
Cool.
I'm really hoping it's going to be a solid turnout for this. I missed Vegas a lot, I really wanted to go, but this will have to suffice for me.
Well, we made it but for a slightly briefer visit, but we got to see lots of people, and other people did comment about the lack of carpeting. So we'll be very keen to hear what Morgan says, though I think I've heard him tell me already. Okay.
Yeah. It'll be good to put this behind us. It's just sort of one of those things that just keeps coming up. We can't escape it, but we'll try and put the final word on that on this episode and move past it. What do you say?
Right.
But there's a whole lot more fully threaded radio to get to before we do that, and we'll fire all that up momentarily. Got a little promo here that I recorded with Bob from Fastener Fair that we'll jam in first, and then we'll play some sponsors very quick. We'll come back, jump right into it.
Okay, cool.
Thanks again for clicking in, everyone. It's fully threaded radio.
Fastener Fair USA is right around the corner. Hi, it's Bob Chiricosta inviting you to the heart of the Midwest, Cleveland, Ohio, November 8th through 10th for what's sure to be the biggest fastener event of the year. Fastener Fair caters to every segment of the industry, and this year's show is a welcome return of person-to-person events that we love. We're glad to have the North Coast Fastener Association hosting the welcome party on Tuesday, the night before the show opens. And don't miss the Fastener Fair party with an open bar and live entertainment right on the fully carpeted show floor immediately following the first day of exhibits. For many of our exhibitors, it'll be their first national show of the year, and everyone is anxious to get back to the business of doing business. For more details and to register, go to FastenerFairUSA.com. Fastener Fair, connecting the fastener industry in the heart of the fastener industry in Cleveland, Ohio.
Brian and Eric, your online Fastener Talk Radio brothers in thread. Fully threaded radio.
Brighton Best is pleased to introduce our premium preferred line of drywall and self-drill screws. Preferred self-drillers and drywaller screws are consistently manufactured by ISO registered manufacturers to exact and demanding standards, providing exceptionally fast drill speeds. Preferred self-driller screws are ICC approved as required by the majority of all commercial contractors and building codes. Preferred's high-quality packaging is color-coded for easy identification and available from stock in full pallets, quarter kegs, 5-pound, and 1-pound box configurations. For more information on our preferred screws, visit preferredscrews.com.
Goebel Fasteners is excited to announce our brand new 18-volt lithium-ion cordless battery tools. They are proven, reliable tools ideal for demanding assembly, maintenance, general metalworking, and trucking industry applications. Goebel Fasteners, the leading rivet source.
Our goal at Star Stainless is to be your #1 stainless supplier. As an industry, we've been through a lot together over the years, and you've always been able to depend on us as your trusted partner. It's been that way for over 70 years. I'm Tim Roberto, the president of Star. Today, we're faced with supply chain pressures like never before, but you can continue counting on Star to have the quality stainless parts you need with the fastest possible delivery times. None of us can be sure how conditions will change or when certain items will become hard to get, but at Star Stainless, we have the resource and stocking capabilities to bring what you need when you need it. Thanks for working with us all these years. Together, we will make it through.
This is Baron Yarborough with Spring Bolt and Nut Manufacturing, the best beard in the business. Sorry, Chris. And you're listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
Brian and Eric, back with you, fighting for truth, justice, and the fastener way of life.
And the timely delivery of fasteners.
Should have included that. Thank you, sir. Yeah, the search for truth isn't really going that well either, frankly. It's just layer upon layer of mendacity everywhere you look these days. It's pretty much everywhere, including seeping into the fastener world. I thought of that as I saw this post here on LinkedIn the other day. Tabitha Hurst has been posting up some truth bombs lately, I noticed. One of them is an invitation from the state of Florida for all the cargo vessels to start coming down there, unloading there. They say they're ready for business. They can roll trucks through the state, apparently, which we're now being told is one of the main problems for the jam up at the Long Beach ports. So what do you make of that? They can't roll the trucks in if they're 3 years or older, I guess? Does that make any sense?
It doesn't make any sense to me at all. But then again, a lot of this shit doesn't.
Yeah, I think that's part of the tactics here being deployed against us. I mean, depending on how you look at all this, or maybe you think this is all as it's being advertised, take it at face value. I don't know. But I will tell you this, that Florida post on LinkedIn generated for Tabitha, I'm pretty sure it was the most ever comments. So people were really willing to chime in on all that. And I have to say, most of the people were saying, yeah, let's do it. Let's get the heck out of California. I mean, these guys are creating their own problems and they're not telling us the truth about it. That seemed to be the overwhelming sentiment. And those kinds of politically charged conversations don't normally fly out there on LinkedIn. So it caught my attention. A lot of people are watching this.
Right. I mean, the problem is you've got to get the ships through the Panama Canal, and it takes an extra week or so. Maybe that's still quicker.
It's not for me to decide that. All I know is that there don't seem to be any perfect solutions, and seeing through it all has become very difficult. Now, I did reach out to Chris Donnell, and after reading his most recent newsletter, he, of course, is with Scanwell, folks. He's a logistics expert, keeps his finger on the pulse of all this, and he put out a very detailed summary of his ideas and his thoughts on all this. And afterward, I said, could you summarize all that for me? And what he did was he basically copied, pasted it, and returned it to me. And he said, here. So, and I think he knows me well enough to kid a little bit. But I mean, the point is, it's just, there's all this stuff. And I guess we don't have much to add to it, folks, other than do the best you can. And I will say this also. There are a variety of fully threaded radio sponsors that you should consider when you're looking for made in the USA alternatives. I mean, this is one option. And I know that a lot of you domestic manufacturers are definitely feeling this, and you could barely keep up with it. But the point is, this is one of our weapons against this in this battle that we're in. So, for example, 3Q is USA products. They're ITW, 100% made in USA lock washer products. Perfect example.
And all of the big boys, too, also have a fairly wide variety of domestic manufacture products, very clearly marked domestic or USA made. I know because I scrubbed their inventory.
Another good case in point, Volt Industrial Plastics.
Yeah.
If that's the way you can go, they're made right here, heart of the U.S. They're right there in Flippin, Arkansas, which, by the way, is also where they make Ranger boats.
I thought you'd figure that out.
It was nice to go down there a couple months ago and see where my baby came from. Now, Eurolink is advertising the fact that although they're importing still, they've got like their own air service. I don't know how Craig is doing it, but he's calling it Eurolink Air. And he's reminding everybody that they have weekly flights coming in with product. So if you have one of those hard-to-find metric parts, Eurolink is definitely a phone call you should be making.
Or if you have a very, very hard-to-maintain European car, Eurolink is a call you should be making too. Craig got hold of some very interesting socket set screws for me that I needed.
What was that, for the Lotus?
Yeah.
You know, there's never been a time that I've known you where you have not been doing something to that car.
Well, it's not strictly true. I admit I don't drive it that much now, but it's 30 years old. It's just getting very hard to maintain.
Well, I know it's a hobby for you. Anyway, we've had a lot of fun times in that buggy over the years. And fortunately, guys like Eurolink are around to help you keep it rolling.
Oh, yeah.
On that same vein, when we were down at, where were we? Where they had next door an additive manufacturing show going on to the Fastener show. It was a Fastener fair, I believe. And
it was the Fastener fair in Detroit.
Yeah. And they had that Jag out front, and it was made with 100% printed parts.
And a Lotus as well, incidentally, inside.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah.
So even back then, several years ago, the technologies were out there. Of course, some people are still picking up on all this. Some people are still trying to figure out where are the applications that are really going to start impacting my business. And as I said at the top of the show, the supply chain problem is probably only one factor influencing people to look in this direction. But I think Andy Pelz was right all those years ago. This is something that's going to, once it catches on and once the technology really reaches that point, it's going to revolutionize a lot of businesses. That's going to impact the fastener world. So therefore, with that, we were very glad when Achim Grenner from Würth Industry called up, said, hey, want to jump on the podcast?
Yeah, that's okay. Very keen to know what they're doing.
Now, one programming note here before I roll this. I had to jump on a Zoom conference call right before I talked with Achim. And when I got back into the recording platform that I use for the podcast, I had a little bit of a mic mix-up, and the conversation was recorded from my end using not my normal mic. So I was not happy with the audio on my end of it, but it's definitely listenable, not up to my usual standards. So sorry, Achim, but he sounds great, and it's mostly him talking. So we're just going to roll with that. He's a guy who knows a whole lot about what's going on in Würth's approach to the additive field. So we'll roll that now.
Yep.
Over the years, we've spoken quite a bit about additive manufacturing, 3D printing on the podcast, and we've watched this technology emerge. And then it was very exciting when, somewhat recently, the Würth Group announced their dive into the 3D world. You might remember AJ Strandquist, who's heavily involved in that piece of Würth's business, has been on the podcast a couple of times. And even last episode, Brian mentioned that he went out to the FabTech show in Chicago to see what was going on with Würth. Didn't get a chance to speak to AJ. Fortunately, we're joined now by the CFO of Würth Additive Group. He's Achim Grenner. Thanks for hopping on the podcast with us today. Let's hear all about it.
Thanks, Eric. Glad to be here.
And we set this up some time ago. I didn't realize at the time that Brian was going to possibly run into your booth out there at McCormick Place. Get any feedback on how that show went?
Oh man, Eric, it went great. Anytime we get the chance to get in front of customers and get in front of suppliers again, it's an absolute blast. And you mentioned it with this new company that we've set up at the beginning of the year. There's a lot of talk, a lot of buzz around it, and I'm glad to be here today to shed some light on what we're actually doing with it.
Yes, particularly because we're going to hash over, among other things, the question, hey, is Würth printing fasteners now? But you get that one a lot, huh?
Excellent question, Eric. We get that a lot. And I'm going to tell you the simple answer to that is no, of course. However, it helps us really do our job better. Now, what does that mean? I mean, you know Würth, and your listeners, they know Würth from the core business that we are famous for. And Würth has made it very easy and simple the last 75 years to buy and manage inventory for their customers. Now, 3D printing helps us be better at that even. And I'll be glad to jump into that and give a bit more background on how that's possible.
Yes, we definitely want to hear about this. Let's take one step back, though, for folks who are not as familiar with the additive manufacturing process, or actually there's a whole family of them, isn't there? Give us the overview, then let's delve into the specific questions.
Absolutely. I mean, the additive manufacturing industry, the secrets is in the words, right? We're talking about additive manufacturing as opposed to subtractive manufacturing. So you're adding layers of materials in the most common form of printing on top of each other until you have the final product. And it's as simple as that. And what's really interesting about the industry is that when you look at it, the numbers fluctuate back and forth, but is essentially estimated to be between $15 and $20 billion in 2020, which is about the size of the Würth Group, interestingly. Now, that being said, the technology itself is actually far more advanced than the adoption in industry today. So, in other words, what the printers can do is far outmatched by the rate of adoption that we've seen with our customers. And that's where we see our role in the piece of the puzzle is to give our customers the same level of excellence and quality and support for them to adopt this technology and rely on it just like any other manufacturing method.
How long has it been the case that the capabilities have outpaced the demands on this? I mean, it can't be too long, right? This is fairly new technology.
It's fairly new compared to the products that we usually deal with fasteners, right? Fairly new in that comparison. However, the technology has been around for quite some time. I mean, there has been the first big names popping up in the 90s. And then with the recent wave of patents running out, there's been a new wave of technologies and companies setting up in the space of additive manufacturing, which are also some of the brands that we work with today in supporting our customers with the technology.
Okay, so let's talk about some applications that make sense for fastener distributors. If not in kicking out grade 2 cap screws, then what are the applications that should get fastener distributors really excited?
See, this is the secret sauce of how we try to support our customers, right? A lot of 3D printing noise is happening with the people in the white collars, like the engineers, the leaders of the industries that hear some interesting, that see a piece of media where the latest technology is around, or they see some brochures around the latest software. But the value that we see is talking to the blue collar folks, right? The folks that we already talk to every day about parts. So the best way that we found to identify those applications that are a good fit is to actually do the same thing that we are doing already, going to our customers, going on site, spending time with the people that deal with parts, spending time with the tool crib managers, spending time with the buyers, spending time with the plant managers, and really try to identify those items, those parts that cause you heartburn. Low run specials, complex geometries, MRO parts, custom tooling. That's a pain to actually tool yourself, or that's almost impossible to source, especially nowadays. Those are the type of applications where our sales engineers in the field, they spend a day or two on site with a customer and an industrial printer, literally spending all day identifying applications and parts. And to your point, Eric, this technology is so versatile and variable. You can print almost everything with it. And if it makes sense, is then a function of the cost and obviously what the application for it is, right? If that's why we're also reluctant to deal with or print fasteners, is because most of the applications that are connected with fasteners require that type of qualification and that type of supply chain tracing, which is just not available yet in this new industry.
I think for many listeners, they're still getting over the conceptual hump that these 3D printers, so to speak, are capable of operating in metals. I mean, there's a very wide variety of metals that are in additive manufacturing to date.
Absolutely. You could I would say you can print almost every metal that you can think of. And interestingly, with one of our brands is we produce composite parts that are actually stronger and lighter than some metals, such as aluminum, for example. You could lift 20,000 pounds in some of those parts that we print with composites, not with metals. So once that sinks in with most customers, the people that deal with parts every day, their mind just starts racing and they just start thinking about the problems they can solve very simply, very easily, essentially overnight, right? Because the beauty of it is once you know what to print, you hit the button, you go home. Next day, the part is ready to go. You can take it off the plate and test it out and run a second or third iteration. And what we're doing is we're supporting our customers in that process and eventually make our dues on supplying the equipment and the materials to actually run it.
Okay, good. So I understand, Achim, you probably won't be able to get into specific case studies because of company confidentiality and so forth. But can you give us a couple of the categories of projects that Würth has been very successful at lately, so some of our listeners will get some juices flowing there?
Yeah, absolutely, Eric. I'll try my best to get the juices running. So some of the categories that have been very successful are in MRO parts, custom tooling, functional prototypes. Obviously, over the last months, we've dealt a lot with stock out prevention or reaction, where we've been able to fill in some of the gaps that have presented itself in the supply chain so far with some replacement parts. We're talking about replacing outsourced CNC parts. We're talking about parts that are low run specials where it just doesn't make sense to stock them, right? When you know you need them a week from now, you can hit the button and print them on demand. And what we are offering our customer base, what Würth offers its customer base today is to help identify those parts, build a program for your site or your sites. Some of our most successful programs have been international deals and international programs where we've been supplying equipment, materials, spare parts, consumables, services for 9 different locations in 8 different countries. And this is really where large industrial customers see the value in with Würth is we are already their C-parts provider, and we are trying to make the supply of additive manufactured parts just as easy as any other parts you could get from Würth.
Yeah, it's making sense to me a little bit more now. That plugs right in, doesn't it?
It does. And let me go a little bit into the topic of supply chains. And especially, the buzzword that we're dealing a lot with is actually digital supply chains. So when you think about it, 3D printing really changes the way people think about making things, right? You can think more customized. You can think more localized. You can essentially replace a part of your part universe, a part of your supply chain with a digital thread. And this is where Würth Additive Group, together with our core business, we're building this type of hybrid supply chain, utilizing our existing customer solutions that we already have in the millions on site with our customers. So I'm sure, Eric, you're familiar with our Würth VMI Kanban system, right? You can use the same bins, the same racks. There's nuts in there, there's bolts in there. And then in the third bin, there might be 3D printed parts, right? Once those parts are empty, you can use the second bin, and the first empty bin, once that is scanned, that replenishment order goes straight back to your on-site printer and starts to print the parts to replenish that bin on-site at your location. So that's what I mean by we're trying to help our customers identify those parts, but then a big piece of the puzzle is solving the question around how to actually supply those parts to your site where you need it. There's a lot of noise in the additive manufacturing industry about workflow software, the best printers, the best materials. But we are blue collar. We're trying to help our customers utilize this technology and utilize parts that come off their own printers or that come off printers from our service bureau partners that give them the same advantages of the technology with the same quality of supply that they can expect from a brand like Würth. Out of the parts that Würth supplies its customers today, we've found that 5 to 15% of those parts have a significant potential for cost and time savings if they're replaced with additive. Now think about that, 5 to 15%. That's a lot of parts that our engineers are working on with our sales teams and our key account managers with our customers. And by the way, also with our suppliers. So we look at this as a larger system, right? And that's when we go into the concept of digital supply chain. This is where the juices really start to flow when we talk to both sides of the equation. We talk to our customers, but also to our suppliers, and that we are the distributor for. I don't want to name any brands, but we are in active talks to build out essentially a digital library, digital inventory based on our existing inventory solution systems, where a customer can buy, quote unquote, which would be print an OEM certified part through the Würth network, and the OEM essentially gets a royalty fee on that part.
Oh man, you are getting a lot of people's ears to perk up right now. I can tell you that, Achim. I mean, this changes things the way like Napster changed music. I mean, we're almost at that point, aren't we?
We're almost there, and more and more suppliers start to understand that with legacy spare parts, with low run, low quantity replacement parts, they don't need to run that through a traditional supply chain and traditional contract manufacturing network anymore. They can literally qualify their own parts on printing platforms. And what Würth is facilitating in the background is to enable that network of printing capability to support the distribution and supply of OEM certified parts through that digital supply chain. That means that you can certify your parts, your IP is protected. If you know our inventory systems, we never touch supplier IP on the parts that we distribute. And that makes it very interesting, right, for both suppliers and customers, because now customers can tell us, hey, I want, or think about auto shops. Auto shops can tell us, hey, I want spare parts of supplier ABC in my auto shops on demand. Then we turn around, talk to that OEM, ask them, hey, do you want to supply your digital files on our network? And you just get paid on the royalties once it's printed. You're just selling your IP. You're a beautiful music artist that puts his music on iTunes, right?
So Würth makes it happen.
Exactly, Eric.
Wow. All right. So let me ask you this. It sounds like a lot of these OEMs may initially, or I would guess they would be initially resistant, but ultimately they would see that this is inevitable and they'd have to go with the flow. I mean, can you characterize, is that happening right now, or is it still a battle convincing them that they need to get on board?
Well, let me ask you a question back, Eric. If you're an oil rig operator and you have the question, wrench breaks, you have the option to buy a $20,000 toolkit from supplier A, or you can print just the wrench you need and you pay $200 in IP fees to the other OEM. What would you do?
Right. You get a case closed. Hey, you know what? You don't really have to convince me of the concept. I mean, when we first heard about this, it was years ago. Andy Pelz came on the podcast and mentioned 3D printing. Like he was way ahead on just his awareness of this. He started talking about it. We picked up on it. I've always been very enthusiastic, but the technology just didn't seem like it was there. And now, of course, it's emerging, and I'm way behind. You're on top of it, and that's one of the reasons I was so excited to get you on, Achim.
Oh, I appreciate that. It's a very exciting field, and I'm glad to be supporting the Würth Group in it. And we're talking to all kinds of people, right? Everybody seems to be waking up to the potential that this technology has. And we're trying to build that supply side capacity to really enable our customers to run this stuff in production, because that is what's not fully adopted yet. That's what I mean by, as you mentioned prior to our recording today, is a lot of the applications today, they are within the prototyping space. They are within the low run tooling, custom tooling space. But think about real customized, localized manufacturing, what that does to an OEM of larger things, right? If you really have the power of reliably, essentially choosing whatever parts you need on site where you need it, it's a real powerful concept.
Undoubtedly. Now, you mentioned earlier about setting a machine off and then going home and overnight and coming back the next day, the part's done. One of the things that sticks out in my mind that was always really dragging with 3D technology was the speed. Has that improved over the years to the point where it's become a little bit more realistic for some of these small shops to invest in the equipment? Or is that too general of a question?
It has to a point. It depends on the technology, of course. There is technology out there that can run you a full-on manufacturing line where you can print clips for the auto industry, which we're doing today, on tens of thousands of parts a week. There is the capacity out there. Now, where we think is the full potential of it is if you connect that ability of localized manufacturing and localized production with our physical inventory solution. Because if you have the parts that you're printing already on your shelf and you know you need them, then you never run out. Same as with your conventional parts, right?
You're a self-propagating VMI shop.
That is true. And you can essentially set up your own parts. You can design your own parts. Our customers have a lot of smart people designing what they need, and they print it out. They put the label on the bin, and they're good to go.
We've been speaking with Achim Grenner. He is CFO of Würth's Additive Manufacturing business. And I know that was a very general question, but thank you for taking a stab at it. And there's a lot to learn, but listeners are probably scratching their head saying, well, how do I get up to speed with this? How do I reach out to Würth? What do I do next? What's the answer, Achim?
Well, the answer is, of course, reach out anytime to good old AJ or myself. We're happy to take any questions that anyone might have looking to get into the tech. We have a strong force of very capable, young, motivated engineers that are situated throughout the country that can hop into their car, take a printer to your on-site location, and get you started.
Well, that's a very cool thing. Any websites, any tutorial information, anything like that you'd like to point listeners to?
Absolutely. Definitely make sure to check out our shop. It's shop.würthindustry.com. This is where you'll find a lot of educational collateral, nice video material. There is a whole Worth Knowing episode dedicated to the topic where we are actually printing a part. We're lifting a chip on it with the part that's being printed on the show. So there's a lot of good collateral out there. And I'm sure, Eric, I'll be sending you some cool links to check out for our listeners.
Yes, thank you for mentioning that. I was going to bring it up also. Episode 7 featured Carter Rhodes and Jacob Ayers from your 3D group. I don't know if they were as comfortable as Randy and Aaron up there. They looked a little like they got the job done, but when they first started off, they were a little nervous, I could tell. They're definitely the quality they have is they're definitely much better looking than AJ and I am. So that's why we sent them. Oh, well, you are too good. Well, you weren't nervous at all. You did a great job speaking with me today, and I sure do appreciate it. I know we'll be speaking with you, Achim, again in the future because this business is going nowhere but up. Oh, I appreciate it, Eric. Thank you very much. Würth Industry North America folks, always on the move. We're always glad to have them on the podcast. Hey, we'll have more fully threaded radio for you very soon. Catch you on the other side of this break.
At Würth, status quo isn't an option. Würth is a global supply chain solutions provider of fasteners, MRO, and safety products, along with value-added services like kitting and assembly, 3D printing, and engineering assistance. Find out what Würth can do for you at würthindustry.com.
In continued efforts to improve the industry standard, Goebel Fasteners has developed a patented new multi-grip lock bolt system made completely from T304 stainless steel. In applications where an extensive grip range is needed and a consistent flush pin break to the collar is favorable, the Goebel T304 stainless steel lock bolt system is the new and improved standard in the market. Essentially, the T304 stainless steel lock bolt system's extensive grip range and various sizes can replace up to 14 sizes of the classic 6-groove locking fastener system. Gerbil Fasteners, the leading rivet source.
Stelfast customers say it all.
Dave Kaplan, Mutual Screw and Supply, Rochelle Park, New Jersey. First of all, I know most of those people there literally for 40 years. They've been there that long. They're more than just vendors of mine, they're friends of mine. They refer business to me and they're loyal as can be. I can drop ship product from them and I never have a concern about them going after my accounts. They're the most loyal people on the planet. The people at Stelfast are incredible people.
For service you deserve and people you trust, it's Stelfast.
Solution Man, Ken.
Solution Man, you're my fastener hero.
Just doing my job, ma'am.
SOLUTION, SOLUTIO. Solution Industry. We are Solution.
Hey, this is David with ND Industries. You're listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
Brian and Eric back with you, your online fastener amigos. It's the news segment, folks. Mike McNulty's in rare form today. He keeps getting better at doing this. Have you noticed that?
Yes, well, maybe he enjoys it more. And even though he keeps saying he's totally focused on fasteners, these little bits keep slipping out relating to sports.
Yeah, he has a very dry way of appreciating the irony of that. Don't you worry.
Right.
Yeah, he's come into his own, and he'll be joined this time by Nick Ruetz of AIS to talk about the Fastener Distributor Index, among other things, and also Mike Hockett with the Big 50. Couple points before we get to that. Mel Kirshner Memorial Golf Event is coming up on November 5th. Now, we used to be all over this one, Bri, and I think at first it went every year, then they moved it to every other year, and then since the world went sideways, I kind of lost track of it, but it's back this year. This, of course, is being presented by the Pacific West Fastener Association. Mel Kirshner was one of these larger-than-life figures on the West Coast fastener scene. He was very well known for having a fastener museum. I mean, he was really into it, everybody. And then tragically, there was a fire that destroyed it. But he was well-liked by a lot of people, known for his goofy sense of humor, Hawaiian shirts, and he played a lot of golf. So this event on the 5th is taking place at Hidden Valley Golf Club. That's in Norco, California, which, as it turns out, Bri, is just north of Corona, California.
Right. I'm not any the wiser, to tell you the truth.
Right. It's in the LA, not terribly far from the LA area. And that was just one detail that stuck out to me when I looked it up. Another detail is that some of our fine sponsors are driving this thing with the Pac West. Star Stainless and ND Industries are platinum sponsors. BBI's throwing some gold into this too. So, good mojo there. And for all of you hotshots out there, you'll have some good competition, because I noticed American Ring is also on the sponsor list. So I'm thinking that means they'll be on the course as well. So, bring your good game.
Right.
Bring your A game.
Yep.
They've been hot off the tees this year at these fastener golf events.
Right.
Get out to pac-west.org. Proceeds from this event go to the Old Mission Beach Athletic Club, which promotes and sponsors youth sports. It was a big favorite of Mel's. Guess it dates all the way back to 1954. Mel Kirshner Open. Big Country from InSequel Software will be out there too.
Oh, yeah, I know.
He's going to go up against those American Ring guys there. He's going to hit them, and they're going to see. He'll have his day, Bri. Mark my words.
Rob's had many of his days, actually.
That's true. He's trying to add to the drama, Bri.
Yeah, I know.
On the FCH front, in the face of all of this pressure on the various supply chains, we've noticed an increase in the overall value of FCH source finder inquiries coming through the network. So anytime you go out to FCH looking for a hard to find part and it's not out there, you have the option of creating an RFQ, which we call a source finder. That shoots out across the network to dozens and dozens of potential distributors who might have or be able to procure that piece. And I tell you, some of these things coming through right now are juicy orders for somebody. Have you noticed this lately?
Yeah, I scan through them every now and again.
Well, I watch them like a hawk, make sure they're being routed correctly and so forth. And it's good to see. Thank you for using the system, everybody. If you haven't used FCH lately, fastenersclearinghouse.com is the place. SourceFinder's been a successful option in a lot of cases lately. Fastenersclearinghouse.com. Another item here. This has been out for a little while, but I wanted to make note. Traveling Salesman's blog, which is fastenerblog.net, he had a conversation with Würth Industries CEO Dan Hill, another in his 10 Minutes With series.
Yep.
This is a great conversation that he did. And, Dan Hill is one of these CEOs of the people, or at least it seems to me that way. I mean, he's really gotten out there a lot, and he's an accessible guy. He's doing a lot of things really aggressively. Well, we just heard one example of that. And he's just getting out there. He was at the Solution Open House a couple weeks back, and then he showed up at the social. And so this was a very timely placed piece for TS. Get out there, check that out, fastenerblog.net. And another thing that really made me smile was Dan's association with hot dog stands in the distant past. Oh. So it's near and dear to my heart. Another reason he seems to me to be a CEO of the people. Well, there were a lot of headlines this time that didn't get fully covered in the news report, even though it is a very good episode. And I want to let you know that we'll be doing some special things in about a week or so. I've talked with people at Brighton and Linfast, so we'll be getting a special issue together to cover some of the acquisition news. So a lot of people are talking about these acquisitions because, let's face it, they're big news and they're out there. They've shaken a lot of things up. We're not going to spend a lot of time on it today, but that's coming.
Okay. A lot of people will be thinking. But then again, acquisitions, they take months and months and months to settle down, so don't expect immediate disruption, okay?
You mean improvement in service. Is that it?
Or any disruption. It just, I've been through this whole thing. You can, get bought by another company and then things have to stay the same for a while they work out what they want to do.
Oh, yeah. There's that whole period where nobody knows what's going to happen. And it's a very eerie feeling when you're on the side of the company who's been acquired. You just don't know what's going to happen next. And there's a little bit of a tendency, I think, to freeze in place. I don't know what's going on at Solution or Vertex. I'm not saying that, but it's just been my experience too, because it happened to me in the tech world many years ago.
Yeah, it happened to me too.
The Fastener News Report is brought to us by Volt Industrial Plastics, and the title sponsors of Fully Threaded Radio are Brighton Best International, Star Stainless Screw, and Goebel Fasteners.
Yeah, with the world getting smaller, it's really good to be able to count on your friends.
Very good point, amigo. And we do, and know you folks do too. So we told you that Mike McNulty is a free agent now. What does he mean by that? Well, he'll tell you that, plus news about screws that you can use.
All right.
Here's Mike.
Thanks, Brian and Eric. This is Mike McNulty from Fastener Technology International Magazine, bringing you the Fastener News Report, which is sponsored by Volt Industrial Plastics, makers of the world's finest plastic fasteners. October, one of my favorite months of the year for sports and weather, is finally here, and with it, the Cleveland Indians baseball team's streak of 107 consecutive seasons played near the shores of Lake Erie and at the corner of Carnegie and Ontario have come to a melancholic and needless close, but I am still focused on fasteners and ready to deliver today's Fastener News Report. In this episode, Nick Ruetz, president of AIS and MSC Company, joins us to reveal the latest results of the Fastener Distributor Index, also known as the FDI. Also in today's broadcast, we have our top story on the Industrial Distribution Big 50, as well as newsmaker headlines from Linfast, Solution Industries, Nucor Fasteners, Penn Engineering, JIS Distribution, Boomax, Bright & Best, Vulcan Steel Products, and Würth Industry North America. On the back page report, we're going to talk about fastener shows. We'll get to all of that and the latest FDI results right after this.
When it comes to plastic versus metal fasteners, Volt Industrial Plastics says plastic wins. They're rust-free, UV-resistant, non-conductive, and less expensive to produce and ship. And don't forget, plastic fasteners can be easily color-matched to any application. Volt plastic fasteners are made in the USA and delivered worldwide. To let Volt quote your next project, visit them online at voltplastics.com.
We are Volt.
MacGyver, by the looks of that detonator, this whole place is gonna blow in just 10 seconds.
Just stay calm, Judy. All we need is a metric fastener manufactured to an ISO or DIN standard.
10 seconds, MacGyver. What about the fastener?
Not a problem. Eurolink specializes in hard-to-find metric fasteners. Delivered. Did you contact the sales team at EurolinkFSS.com like I asked you to last week?
Well, no. I tried other importers, but they couldn't fulfill the quotes.
Oh, Judy, now we're completely screwed. Eurolink. Hard-to-find metric fasteners. Delivered.
Mike McNulty.
The seasonally adjusted Fastener Distributor Index showed some cooling for the second straight month, coming in at 54.2, slightly lower than the previous month's result of 55.4. Fastener Distributor Index data is collected and analyzed by the FCH Sourcing Network and Baird. The FDI seeks to identify demand, pricing, and outlook trends within the American fastener distribution industry. To get some insight on these results, we talked to Nick Ruetz. He's the president of AIS, an MSC company. Hi, Nick. Thanks for joining us on the Fastener News Report.
Hi, Mike. Thanks for having me.
So what do you think about the latest FDI results?
Not surprised. I think, the story of today is obviously the condition of the supply chain. And I think the general sentiment out there is that things are still, everybody's seeing good growth, particularly coming off of the pandemic year. But it feels like we're walking a bit of a tightrope with availability of product and delays in shipping.
Yeah, it seems like we talk about the same problem every month, but that's what's happening, and everybody's in the same boat. This month we saw the sales pricing and delivery numbers all drop slightly, while inventories and employment creeped up a bit. You having the same experience out in your neck of the woods?
Yeah, I think that's right. It makes sense for inventory certainly to be creeping. I think everybody at some point over the last 9 months to a year started trying to grow their inventory, and we're seeing that impact. And then the supplier side seems about in line, and employment is, like you said, it's the same thing every month the last few months, trying to find enough people to, the boots on the ground doing the yeoman's work in the facilities and out at our customers.
Yeah, I can't, I still don't understand. I know that in the beginning of the labor problem, there was a lot of people with getting some sweetheart unemployment benefits, but those seem to have gone away. But the employment's still not coming back, and it's a bit of a mystery. Maybe people just retiring or not wanting to work anymore or afraid to work. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I've been waiting to see a snapback of candidates related to the benefits running out, and that certainly hasn't happened on our end yet.
So the big question is, where are they, and where are all the containers, and where are all the chips? But that was a few episodes ago. They talked about the chips a lot.
Well, I can tell you, relative to the containers, I think they're all just sitting off off LA somewhere, floating in the ocean. So
nobody to unload them.
That's right.
Okay, well, let's move on with the numbers here. The forward-looking indicator, also known as the FLI, that moderated also. It dropped down below 70 to 69.5. That's down from last month's robust reading of 70.3, but it's the 16th straight month of positive outlook. So would you agree with that? Looking forward, things are still looking pretty positive down the road?
I do agree. I think there's still plenty of pent-up demand. whether you look at automobile lots out there or just store shelves or warnings to buy your Christmas gifts now because they won't be available if you wait till the last minute. And I can't see that supply chain catching up for, almost another year probably. So I think from a demand perspective, people still feel really good. It's, can you get parts to sell at the end of the day? And can your customers, from a fastener distributor perspective, can your customers get the other components they need that they maybe don't acquire from you to just keep their production lines running?
Yeah, it is a balancing act. And your comment about car lots is funny. I decided to drive through one last weekend, and it was just shocking. It's mostly used cars. So
that's right.
Although I did see that Toyota did pretty well this past month compared to the big three in Detroit in terms of they actually had an increase in sales. So maybe they're a little bit better at managing their supply chain or their chips. Or
yeah, they certainly have a leg up somewhere for those results.
Yeah, which is something they've done in the past too. So, okay, the 6-month outlook, the numbers that came in for that, we had 42% of the respondents expecting things to be better 6 months down the road, 48 expecting it to be the same, and only 10% expecting conditions to be worse. The thing that was interesting to me here is that last month we had 58% of the people expecting business to be better 6 months down the road, and that dropped all the way to 42%, which is a pretty big shift. Read anything into that number?
Yeah, in terms of that one, I think partly that could be driven by what your main end markets are or the companies you sell to, what their end markets are. Again, I think if you're in the automotive channel, you might have one outlook versus if you sell a little bit more into, commercial or residential building and or things that service oil and gas. So that could be some reflection of end market. But again, I just think it goes back to, I'll use the term I used earlier, that tightrope we're walking. And I think companies are starting to see that there's risk that you'll have what we've been using the term of rolling blackouts, where we're going to see companies, not just automotive, maybe shut down for 2 or 3 weeks at a time just to let their supply chain catch up. So I think it's probably driven by one of those two things, end market or the fact that nobody can get anything right now in a timely fashion.
So maybe reality setting in that the supply chain's not going to fix itself or get caught up anytime soon.
Yeah, that's right. That, and I think, us as close to the actual manufacturing process in terms of fasteners are, we've been seeing the inflationary impacts for months. And whether you listen to, analysts on TV or in the Wall Street Journal or wherever, I think the inflationary impacts starting to set in and become a reality are probably maybe another component that has got some people wondering if things will continue.
Right. We are definitely in unique times. So that'll kind of dovetail into the commentary. The commentary this time was talking about raw materials availability being a drag, which is not new, as well as staffing shortages, long deliveries, uncertainty around timing of receiving products, and particularly imported products, was a common theme among survey participants again this month. One person said, quote, "In my 45 years, I've never seen the supply chain this screwed up and pricing this out of control," end quote. Maybe that kind of is the headline comment from this month.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that statement. I've got about half those years in, but I share the sentiment, certainly.
Yeah, just change the number. Right. Yeah, it's definitely unique times. Another participant said, quote, "We could do more if we had products coming in right now. If we're finding parts, we're buying it just to have it. Ugh. Raw materials continue to pose a significant challenge, and labor too." On the stainless steel, this is the first time I thought people singling out stainless steel. Do you guys get involved with that at all?
We do some stainless. I wouldn't call it a core component, but we certainly have some exposure to that market. I can tell you that I have heard that from the manufacturers we do deal with that deal primarily in that material, that it's getting harder and harder to just get availability, that there's definitely rationing going on with materials. So.
Then some other participants echoed what you're saying. Things going to go on to next year. They said, talking about staffing, they said, quote, "We are having issues finding good inside sales, and warehouse help to fill open positions. Even though sales have slowed a bit in September, we remain bullish on the near future. China shutdowns are coming, and therefore we can assume the shortages will continue through the third quarter of 2022. And the last comment is on the demand side. Demand is strong, but supply chain issues could cause actual orders to soften. So that probably explains some of the, people going from 58% expecting it to be better down to into the 40s. just have to ride out the storm and see what happens.
That's a good way of putting it. I think this year, maybe over the next year, pricing to customers, frankly, and really margin management is going to be the name of the game for suppliers. It's unlike, as we just talked about earlier, it's unlike anything anyone's ever seen, where you've got prices escalating as rapidly as they can, and external cost or non-material related costs like the container costs and freight costs just kind of coming from all angles, those inflationary impacts. And so I think that while you got to keep up with your stock, maintaining your pricing is going to be probably the name of the game over the next 12 months.
Well, good luck to everybody who's working on that.
Yeah, it's literally become, in the past, material drives most of the cost of a fastener to a large degree, typically. And I don't think we've seen a time where things have just escalated as quickly and time again. And, you only got a few days to place an order before you either find out they don't have material anymore or the price has gone up again. And so it really is becoming a need for full-time roles, depending on the size of the distributor, probably, to manage that pricing expectation.
Well, maybe a side benefit is all this volatility will help improve relationships between suppliers and customers. We can hope.
Yeah, you certainly have to have that open dialogue with them and not be afraid to show them the data that you're facing, whether it's related to all those inputs we just talked about.
Yeah, and everybody's in the same boat. These aren't negotiating tactics or taking advantage tactics. These are just the reality of dealing with the new situations on the ground.
That's right. I think the one thing that becomes challenging is you go talk to customers, you show them what's going on with material, and if they're a big user of steel anyway, whether it's bar stock or plate steel or whatever, they might not see the same kind of swings that you're seeing for the wire and other types of material we buy. So it really becomes an opportunity to help educate the customers on how the fastener industry works from a material and manufacturing standpoint, as opposed to just maybe what they see related to domestic steel or again, different types of material. It's really a good opportunity to, as you said, get a little closer with them,
right,
and use the opportunity to be an educator to some degree and explain to them kind of how things work in our industry.
Yeah, good time for open dialogue, put all the cards on the table and hash out some solutions together. Okay, anything else you want to add on the FTI before we move on and give you a chance to tell listeners what's going on at AIS?
No, I think we covered everything. Those big concerns, as you said, don't change month to month lately. We just got to keep up with it and hope they start going the other way instead of the direction they have been going. Okay, so AIS is an MSC company. What can you tell us? What's new and exciting at AIS? We're 3.5 years in being owned by MSC Industrial. We continue to face the same challenges that we just talked about, but I'd say by and large, our team's done an excellent job keeping up for our customers, making sure that we've got the stock on hand to deliver and keep up on our promises. From a strategic standpoint, we continue to expand into new geographies, other MSC geographies, utilizing the existing footprint that MSC has. And it's been a great relationship and a great thing to be owned by a strong company like MSC. That's good. I was taking a look at your website, which I'm finding at allintegrated.com, and it shows all the stuff that you guys have, your fasteners and tooling, and well as custom solutions and VMI programs. So it looks like you guys have a lot going on there. Yeah, we're the production fastener and hardware arm of MSC, so it's exciting to have the products and availability and resources that they bring to the table as the premier nationwide metalworking distributor and other MRO supplies. And then, of course, we've been into the production fastener space for many years here at AIS. Very good. Now, look, you guys are headquartered just south of Milwaukee. Is that correct? That's right. Yeah, the AIS headquarters are in a little town called Franksville, right between Milwaukee and Chicago. And then we're predominantly up in the upper Midwest, but have also expanded out to the Northeast and down into Atlanta and Mexico. Oh, that's good. And a pretty broad reach. And you're located in a good spot between two good cities. So what, since it is baseball playoff time, are you guys following the Milwaukee Brewers or the White Sox? Oh yeah, I got my Brewers shirt on today. We're excited for the game. A little bit late afternoon instead of an evening game, but go Crew. We had a nice year with our Milwaukee Bucks, so we're hoping the Brewers can. Who'd have thought? 10 years ago, who'd have thought that the bigger story in Wisconsin would be the Bucks and the Brewers than the Packers to some degree? But here we are.
Right. Yeah. So you got good sports teams to follow there, and I've been to. I go to business once a year for another industry to Milwaukee, and I really love the city, and I've been to that stadium several times. So that's a good spot to see baseball.
Yeah, you bet. It's they did a nice job building that park with the retractable roof.
Well, good luck with the Brewers, and they got a good name too. I appreciate that. Finally, also it says I see here that you're on the board of directors at the NFDA. You want to take a minute to tell us what's going on new with the NFDA? In addition, I know they got a new logo, which looks pretty cool.
Yeah, we just launched a new website and a new logo. I encourage everyone to check it out. If you're in this industry, whether on the supply side, the distributor side, or a service provider, I really encourage you to join the association. I've made some great friends and really thought partners through networking through the NFDA. We're going to get back over the next year here into in-person events with our ESPS and then the Executive Summit. Those won't start happening until summer of 2022. But, the NFDA is a great group for people in the fastener industry. And, it's just like most groups like that, you get out of them what you put in. But the first step is to get involved and join. And so I'd encourage everyone to do so.
All right, well, that's good. Yeah, they do a lot of good stuff for the fastener industry and distributors in particular. Listeners not familiar with our website can visit www.nfda-fastener.org. So good. Well, it sounds like things are going well at AIS, the NFDA, and in the Wisconsin area. So I want to thank you for joining us on the Fastener News Report. It's good to talk to you.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Appreciate being here.
You're welcome, and thanks for sharing your insights. Look forward to talking to you down the road and seeing you at an in-person event soon.
Yeah, you bet.
That was Nick Ruetz. He's the president of AIS, an MSC company. The FDI number for September was 54.2 versus 55.4 the previous month. Visit FDIsurvey.com to participate in the process and get a detailed PDF copy of Baird's monthly analysis. Now for today's top story. Industrial Distribution has released the 2021 edition of its Big 50 list of industrial distributors, which reflects the recent and lingering pandemic and supply chain challenges. Industrial Distribution produces the Big 50 list each year, and many executives and industry analysts use the list as a valuable reference of the biggest market movers in the distribution space, including, of course, Fastener Distribution. Mike Hockett is managing editor of Industrial Distribution, and he had this to say about this year's Big 50.
This year's Industrial Distribution Big 50 list was probably the most challenging one we've ever put together in its 30-plus year history. Certainly the most challenging that I've put together here in my 7 years with the publication. With so many distributors seeing major year-to-year sales declines in 2020 compared to 2019, there was more than a handful of Big 50 regular companies who declined to participate this year, and that gave us fewer companies in our pool of typical candidates to draw from. But as you can see, we still got it done, and the list this year certainly reflects a downtrodden 2020, as about 2/3 of the companies on our list saw sales declines, with about 1/3 of the list showing declines of at least 8% compared to 2020. So some pretty kind of sad looking numbers for some companies. We saw some declines, as much as 25% or more for a handful of the Big 50 companies there. To no surprise, Grainger is still king of the mountain on our Big 50 list, taking the number one spot by a wide margin, nearly double the sales of number 2 Airgas. Motion, formerly Motion Industries, and Fastenal and Wind Supply round out the top 5. And then they're followed by Whitecap, Wesco International, MSC Industrial Supply, Applied Industrial Technologies, and MRC Global in our top 10. Not a lot of movement there, but we do have one newcomer in Whitecap. I'll touch on them in just a bit. Looking more strictly on the fastener side of things, Fastenal did move up one spot from last year as it was in the minority as a distributor that actually increased sales from 2019, up about 6%. And as this has been kind of widely covered, that was largely due to Fastenal's ability to scale up its PPE and Jan Sand products, the sales of which more than offset the major decline it saw in its fastener products, which have bounced back since. New to the list, as I mentioned, was at number 6 was Whitecap, which is formerly the construction and industrial segment of HD Supply until it was privately acquired in 2020. Whitecap has a broad offering of fasteners and anchoring products for construction contractors. Other fastener-heavy companies on our list included Würth Industry North America, which moved up one spot to number 11, Berkshire Tool Supply Group, which made its first Big 50 appearance at number 19. They're a subset of Berkshire E-Supply, a master wholesaler. BDI, they moved down one spot to number 21. Optimus Solutions, they also moved down one spot to number 22. Wisconsin-based Endries International came in at number 29. They first appeared on our list in 2018 at number 35, and they've climbed each year since. Bassard North America up one spot to number 38, and Martin Supply up 7 spots from a year ago to number 42. I would certainly say the vast majority of the companies on our Big 50 list, they offer fasteners as a product category to some degree, but these ones that I just covered here really feature fasteners as a primary revenue driver. As far as kind of an outlook or an overall observation of the Big 50 this year, I really don't think there were any large fasteners that were immune to the pandemic's 2020 impacts on product demand. This was especially exemplified by Fastenal, and it really showed that it was those companies that were able to rapidly source and scale up those PPE, Jan Sand, and other safety products. Those companies fared the best in relation to other fastener distributors that really rely on that MRO demand that took a nosedive. Really, in 2020, for a lot of these companies on our list, having flat sales for the year was actually seen as being better than most. So definitely an odd year all around. But thankfully, almost all those industrial distributors who declined to participate this year, citing their sales declines, almost all of them said they certainly plan to participate in next year's list, since their 2021 sales are on track to be much better. So we are already looking forward to our 2022 Big 50 list, and that should definitely reflect a much more optimistic business environment. That's kind of this year's Big 50 in a nutshell, as far as a quick look at the top 10 and kind of where the fastener-heavy distributors stood on this year's list. This is Mike Hockett reporting for Industrial Distribution.
Thanks, Mike. Listeners can check Industrial Distribution and the Big 50 details at www.indist.com. Next up, today's Fastener Newsmaker headlines. In acquisition and expansion news, Linfast has acquired Solution Industries. Nucor is expanding its Nucor Fastener division via facility and machinery acquisitions. Ivo Stud has purchased the welding stud business of Obtech from OBO Betterman Group. Penn Engineering has expanded its global presence with a new location in Japan. JIS Distribution has acquired the principal assets of Erie Tool and Supply. And Wind Supply has closed on the purchase of Hesco Supply. In personnel news, Boomax has hired Bo Anderson to the position of Business Development Manager for the USA. Brighton Best International, also known as BBI, has appointed John Brown as the BBI Cleveland Warehouse Manager. Vulcan Steel Products has added Scotty Bushell as Supervisor of the Bar Mill and Colby Luzier as General Manager. And after 52 years of work, Fred Sadalski has retired from Würth Industry North America. You can get details on all of these stories and more in Fastener Technology International Magazine and the Fastener News Report monthly newsletter, both available online at fastenertech.com. Now let's turn to the back page to talk about fastener shows. Last month, I sacrificed some comfort and dignity by complying with the illogical health and safety guidelines in airports, Ubers, and indoor spaces in order to attend the International Fastener Expo in Las Vegas, Nevada. I am pleased to report that it was an all-around worthwhile experience, even if the show was much smaller and more regional than any that I can recall attending over the last 2 decades. With 2021 being the 40th staging of the event, there's also a good chance that this show was actually larger and more geographically diverse than at least one of the early ones from the 1980s that I did not have the pleasure of attending. The 2021 event featured 10 conference sessions and over 230 exhibitors of fasteners and related products, as well as suppliers of materials, machinery, and tooling for making them. Highlights for me included the outdoor opening reception, the coatings and air quality conference sessions, the awards ceremony, the corporate culture roundtable, and the show floor, including several new exhibitors and machinery on display. The fastener industry still has several more in-person events on the 2021 calendar, including Fastener Fair USA in Cleveland, Ohio, STAFTA's 45th Annual Convention and Trade Show in Orlando, Florida, and Fastener Training Week in Los Angeles, California. You can see previews of these events in the October-November 2021 issue of Fastener Technology International magazine, which also features two nice report articles, one on the Las Vegas Fastener Show just discussed, and the other on recent NCFA events. That's the North Coast Fastener Association. In the latter article on page 202 through 205, you can see images of your favorite fully threaded radio personalities, as well as many happy NCFA members. And now for some back page bonus questions and commentary on baseball. Did you know that professional baseball in the USA traces its founding back over 150 years to the year 1869? And did you know that 100 years later, Major League Baseball, also known as the MLB, published a 240-page book called Baseball: The First 100 Years, with special editions for each of the 24 MLB teams that were playing in 1969? Well, I still have a good copy of the Cleveland Indians edition of this book that was given to me decades before I started focusing on fasteners. There are several dog-eared pages in it, but I can't figure out the reasons for them. Maybe something to do with the autographs that I collected as a youngster. Anyways, this book is proof to me that I have been following the MLB for more than 5 decades, and for 50-some straight seasons, I have loved the Cleveland Indians in the good, the bad, and the ordinary times. While I was remaining loyal to the tribe, in the 1990s, I also fell in love with the Philadelphia Phillies and the New York Yankees during the years that I lived in those metropolitan areas. I even enjoyed some brief periods of love and admiration for other teams, like the Oakland Athletics whenever I see any part of the movie Moneyball, and the Los Angeles Dodgers when the injured Kirk Gibson hit a walk-off homer in the 1988 World Series, and the New York Mets when Mike Piazza hit a massive go-ahead home run in Shea Stadium 10 days after September 11, 2001. And yes, I even felt some love for the Chicago Cubs when they beat my beloved Indians in Game 7 of the 2016 World Series. So on the first Sunday afternoon in October of 2021, the Cleveland Indians played their last baseball game on the road in Texas, but cheered on by audible chants of "Let's Go Tribe." I knew for sure on that day that the Cleveland Indians will always be my all-time favorite team, even though they aren't taking the field again. At the same time, I realized that on October 4th, 2021, I became a free agent baseball fan. Now, no one's going to give me a contract, but with modern technology and transportation, I am now free to make any of the 30 MLB teams my own. I will base my future enjoyment on team names and colors, chants and slogans, stadium designs and locations, respect for traditions, behavior of the owners, treatment of fans, and the style of play. Just considering the different nicknames, Guardians might be a decent name for an insurance company or a brand of protective undergarments, but as a name for a Major League Baseball team, I put it at the bottom of my list. As a new free agent fan, my eyes are looking elsewhere this postseason and in the upcoming hot stove months. Right now, along with some past loves, the Milwaukee Brewers and the Pittsburgh Pirates are showing up on my radar. So as I say hello to some new teams, I offer a fond farewell to the Cleveland Indians and goodbye to the name, to the tribe, and to the traditions. This has been Mike McNulty of Fastener Technology International magazine, bringing you the Fastener News Report. Please send your news, pictures, comments, corrections, or complaints to me at mcnulty@fastenertech.com.
Parker Fasteners is your premier cold heading manufacturer, forging the future with precision and quality as our top priority. When you think of domestically produced sockets and tamper-proof screws from alloy and stainless, including A286, think Parker Fasteners. Forge the future with Parker Fasteners. Visit Parker Fasteners online today at parkerfasteners.com.
ND Industries has been increasing the safety and reliability of fastener assemblies by developing innovative materials and processes since 1955. Names like ND Patch, Thermalock, Electrolock, and Vibratite serve a wide variety of fastening applications across North America and around the world. To see our full line of innovative products or to discuss your application requirements, contact ND Industries today at www.ndindustries.com.
Since 1905, Buckeye Fasteners and the Ohio Nut and Bolt Company have been supplying the world with high-quality fasteners. Our standard product lines include weld fasteners, braided weld screws, leg levelers, self-clinching hardware, clevis pins, rivet nuts, and various other fastener lines, allowing us to support virtually all types of industries. BuckeyeFasteners.com. Buckeye Fasteners, more than just weld.
Well, hi everyone. This is Carmen Vertullo with your Fastener Training Minute, coming to you from the Fastener Training Institute and AIM Testing Laboratory in beautiful El Cajon, California. And I got an email from one of our prime clients recently. If you don't know what an AIM prime client is, you should email me or see me in some event we might be at soon, because as Eric mentioned, I'm now a rock star, so I'll be touring the country soon. And you can come and see me and ask for my autograph and ask me about what an AIM Prime client is, and I'll tell you. Anyway, today's topic is not about rock stars or AIM Prime clients. It's about the email I got from a Prime client regarding waxed nuts. And he wanted to know, should I be waxing my nuts? Well, that is a very appropriate question. When is it appropriate for you to be waxing your nuts? That might sound inappropriate, but it is an appropriate question. And when I come back, I'll tell you, men, when it is appropriate to be waxing your nuts.
Thanks, Carmen. This is Jo Morris with the Fastener Training Institute. It is so great to be back to in-person instruction, and I am happy to announce some news. We have our acclaimed Certified Fastener Specialist week-long program has just undergone a complete refresh. We have a brand new curriculum. With the help from the Industrial Fasteners Institute, our Fastener Training Week now includes a lot more interactive content, revised class presentations, and expanded course outline. So our next week-long class is going to be hosted by the Pacific West Fastener Association in Los Angeles from November 29th through December 3rd. But before that, are any of you headed to Vegas? We are. FTI will be there, and we are hosting a full-day seminar instructed by Carmen Vertullo and Rob LaPointe from AIM Testing Lab. We're going to present value-added service or costly mistake, key elements for the entire supply chain. This full-day program will show users and suppliers how to detect and prevent risks associated with value-added fastener services and maximize opportunity for a great result. This class is truly for everybody. So if you're a fastener distributor, if you're an end user, or if you're a manufacturer, whether you're in purchasing, sales, engineering, quality, you know what, even operations, you really need this class. Everybody does secondary processes, so you can register through the IFE website or directly with FTI. And lastly, we have recently launched a brand new webinar series called Fastener Basics Like Never Before, sponsored by Bright Invest International. It's a 21-part webinar series presented by Carmen Vertullo. You can join anytime. We record all the sessions and you can still complete the full series. Come on, let's face it, Carmen, he is the master at webinar fastener training classes, and he uses his talents to present each topic creatively using a ton of cameras. He's got great stories, and in so much detail, you'll walk away an expert. This program covers all topics relevant to new fastener professionals, and it's really a great precursor for any advanced learning that you want to do with FTI. So for more information about any of our webinars and our classes, please visit our website at www.fastenertraining.org. Thanks, everyone. Now back to Carmen.
Quality products, quality service, quality customers. That's 3Q Inc., a fastener distributor unlike any you've worked with before. With its unique remote managed inventory stocking programs, wide array of secondary service offerings, and wholly owned cold forming capability, 3Q Inc. has been supporting fastener distributors since 2008. 3Q offers a wide range of 100% American-made fasteners, including 100% made in USA domestic lock washers, clevis pins and bolts, special ITW screw products, Tap R, Boss Screw, TL stud, and grip tied inserts, Sems lock washer products, split lock washers, tooth lock washers, and square cone, as well as specialty and imported parts. Give 3Q a call today to discuss your needs and experience 3Q quality for yourself. 3Q Inc. www.3q-inc.com.
All right, welcome back. This is Carmen Vertullo with the other half of the Fastener Training Minute, today talking about waxed nuts. In a nutshell, the fastener industry requires that we wax our nuts whenever they come from ASTM A563 as the governing specification, and they are hot dip galvanized and they're over tapped. The reason for that is those nuts are used in structural applications on other hot dip galvanized externally threaded fasteners, and therefore we would have a very uncontrolled torque tension relationship. Having the plain threads of the over tapped nut, it actually is going to be a heavy hex nut in most cases, going against the hot dip galvanized surface threads of the bolt. Lots of friction in there, and we just are not properly able to control the torque tension relationship. So a lubricant is required. It doesn't have to be wax, but it's generally wax, and it is supposed to be dry to the touch, so it can't be like some oily, greasy stuff. And in some cases, even though it's not required, it should be colored. Most folks who supply these nuts will add coloring to the wax, so we know it's there. There is a supplement in ASTM A563 which requires, when invoked, that we add color to the wax. However, it's not required unless the supplement is invoked. Now, this particular question came our way not regarding an A563 nut, which the common grade is DH nuts, which we use with structural bolts such as ASTM A325 grade structural bolts. But this question had to do with 2H heavy hex nuts, which come from ASTM A194. A194 is not a structural bolt standard. It's a standard that covers fastening nuts in particular for high pressure, high temperature applications. And interestingly enough, it actually prohibits us to be coating these nuts with hot dip galvanizing or anything else unless the user specifically requests it. It turns out that in ASTM A563, we are allowed to substitute our DH nut with any other nut that has the same strength, that is proof load and hardness. And it turns out that in ASTM A194, the 2H nut is a perfect substitute for the A563 DH nut, and it's actually a very common nut, so it often is substituted. Of course, if we're going to over tap it, galvanize it, hot dip galvanize it, and over tap it, and wanting it to meet the requirements of the A563 DH nut, we would then also be required to add the wax. That's what the standard says. So in a nutshell again, all of our hot dip galvanized high strength nuts, whether they are DH or 2H, must be waxed. It doesn't matter if they're 1.5 inches or lower, which is where our structural bolts come from. It doesn't matter if they're coarse thread or 8-pitch thread. You're virtually never going to see a fine thread hot dip galvanized product. If anyone has seen one, let me know, but it could be 8-pitch, it could be coarse thread. Those nuts which are hot dip galvanized and over tapped need to be waxed. So men, women, wax your nuts appropriately. I hope you learned something. This has been Carmen Vertullo with your Fastener Training Minute. Thanks for listening.
Brighton Best is pleased to introduce our premium preferred line of drywall and self-drill screws. Preferred self-drillers and drywaller screws are consistently manufactured by ISO-registered manufacturers to exact and demanding standards, providing exceptionally fast drill speeds. Preferred self-driller screws are ICC approved as required by the majority of all commercial contractors and building codes. Preferred's high-quality packaging is color-coded for easy identification and available from stock in full pallets, quarter kegs, 5-pound, and 1-pound box configurations. For more information on our preferred screws, visit preferredscrews.com.
Hi, this is Lisa Kleinhandler from Fastener News Desk at FastenerNewsDesk.com, where we bring you all things fascinating. You're listening to Fully Threaded Radio with Eric and Brian.
Well, here we are, an unnamed segment, but hopefully Eric will get that taken care of. Jake Davis with BTM Manufactured. I am joined with some of my best fastener friends, John Coolhand, Butler, and Jill Lewis. How are you guys?
Good. How are you?
Just fantastic. Jill with Associated Fastening Products and Integrated Packaging.
That's right.
And John, I mean, come on. Remind us again, John, but we all know.
The voice of Solution Man, John Butler with the Olander Company, and I'm glad you included me with that. I thought you were talking about Jill, your close friends, but no. I'll take that. Thank you.
You know, once a mutter, as we've said, always a mutter. So we've talked about the Tough Mudder, but I kind of thought just to rehash on it, just to go back, we've had a couple months of recovery and relaxation. So my thought was to get all of ours, your favorite memory, your best memory, and then your biggest takeaway from that event that we were able to share.
Well, my biggest memory was that we all worked together really well. And, you know, I have a severe height disadvantage compared to some of our fellow mutters of about a foot. So, you know, everyone helped me, gave me a boost, you know, told me I can do it. And I did them all. And I'm really thankful that you guys pushed me the way that you did. Otherwise, I was like, that mutter horn, I was like, I am not doing that. And I think Bob Baer told me, he's like, come on. And someone gave me a boost and I went up and I beat George down. So
there you go. Bragging rights.
That's right.
We did think we lost Jill a couple times.
Yeah, in the water. I did almost float away.
Would never happen. We would never let that happen.
No.
You know that. That's for sure. You know, Jill, you left a very interesting part of it off, and that was that your children partook in the junior mutter.
Yeah, my kids did the mini mutter and they loved it and they want to do it again. So I'm excited for them to do it one more time or however many times we're going to do it. They just had a blast. The little one didn't like the mud so much, but the other one was all in on that.
Well, I can't wait to talk to them because next year I think I'm going to be doing the junior mutter.
Yeah, I hear we're doing the 10K one this time.
Yeah, that was thrown out there, and I did mention to Mr. Dudas that included more running, which he was somewhat worried about that and a little bit anti-running. But you know, mine memory-wise was just being able. I was worried about completing all the obstacles and being able to do all of them. Especially, I think is it Everest, the ramp you have to run up?
The white one, yeah.
Yeah. And granted, I wouldn't have made it without the help of Mike Robinson and Dudas and all the guys pulling, you know.
I don't think any of us would have made it up to the top without them, honestly.
Well, Bobby. No, let's talk about Bobby first off. Okay, now here's a young man who's under 30 years old who could do this whole thing by himself.
Absolutely.
But he was the first one up the wall, I believe. And without him and Mike and of course the whole team helping out, we never would have made it. I'm my arm was almost disconnected from my shoulder. But, when you're over 200 pounds dangling there, you need a lot of help.
Yeah,
and that's what we did. So, Jake, I tell you what, that memory of helping each other out is really what stuck together. The teamwork, I look at that and compare that to our businesses that we have. Whether it be the association, how you guys are members of the Midwest Fastener Association. I'm a member as well. I'm on the board with the Pac West. And without that teamwork, we don't get anything done. And the same thing with our individual companies, whether you're an owner like Mr. Davis here or, executives within the company like Jill and I, it's the teamwork that brings everything together and makes it all work. And that's what I take away from what we did and the preparation. Everybody was on their own to get in the best shape possible. That's hard for me. And to make sure that we could complete and not let each other down. And I think that's exactly what we did. We did not let each other down, whether physically, or emotionally.
Yeah, I think, the memory was just the aspect of doing it all together. I mean, certainly there was, like you said, Bobby Wagner Jr. with Beacon could have went off and probably set course records, but we all kind of did the obstacles together. There was a group think to it. The takeaway aspect, very similar to John and Jill. You wake up on Sunday morning smelling of Ben Gay, and you're just like, it was just such a connection aspect to it, and even made the rest of that Fastener Week special. So I think we are serious about doing it again and growing this group. So as the dates and all that get out there, I know we'll keep everybody posted here on FTR and on social media. So we're kind of past the show in Vegas. I know I didn't attend. BTM didn't attend. We are signed up for next year, but we've got no Wayne Wishnu, no monkeys, no U-bolt blend, no carpet. Just kind of, John, I think you're the only one on this call that was in attendance. Just let's touch base on that.
Well, first of all, I mean, you have to have U-bolt blend in order for it to be a complete show. So, we were off to a bad start.
Everybody was dragging.
That's exactly right.
On Wednesday, day 2.
That does happen in Vegas, right?
Uh-huh.
I tell you, the show was much different than what it was. Everybody expected it to be different, and this has been a different year. We've never gone through this before. We've had other pandemics that have happened in the world, but we haven't had this. So we expected something different, and that's what we definitely received. Emerald did a fantastic job with everything that they could control. They can't control people not wanting to go to the show, people wanting to protect their employees from the COVID. And I get that. I totally understand. But those of us that did attend found the show to be much smaller. There was a small contingent of people from Asia that had come in. I would say, if I remember correctly, 5 to 6 booths versus the 30 to 50 that are usually there. And that makes a big difference for many people that are importing products, that aren't going to, say, Brighton Best and Star Stainless, that, they have larger quantities that want to speak with the different suppliers overseas. You didn't get that. The show floor actually didn't have carpet that was running down every aisle. That was a little bit different. You could, for those of us that can actually throw a baseball, you could throw a baseball all the way across from one side to the other. That gives you an idea of the how few vendors were there. Brighton did have their big booth there, but as you said, the Stuff Fast Monkey, we did miss that. That's for sure.
Yeah, and most likely we'll have it next year, maybe 2, right? Maybe we'll put some pressure on the Stelfast Linfast group to make up for last year.
Well, I certainly hope it won't have a mask.
I don't think so.
Yeah, let's hope that we get over this. That's for sure. The welcome reception, it wasn't that reduced as far as the amount of attendees. It
looked like a good group. Yeah,
it was. And even though there wasn't the full cabanas that everybody always has, there was B&B that had their cigars, hand-rolled cigars there, which I happened to take a few of those.
Yeah.
But,
well, you got to have those.
Mm-hmm. And Wi-Fi had their booth as well. So it was great seeing the members of Wi-Fi and speaking with them. But there was plenty of people that were there. As you can imagine, with every one of these welcome receptions, a lot of people already have dinner plans with prospective customers or vendors, and they don't always attend. But so it was well attended. I'll put it that way. And the drinks were flowing.
Good. So getting off the show, I mean, we're all heavily involved in associations, and John, you're like you mentioned, you're Pac West. I'm Jill and I are both on Midwest Fastener Association. I also serve on the Southwestern Fastener Association. And John, I think you and I will see each other next week at our joint conference in San Antonio. Looking forward to that, another in-person opportunity. But just you guys, let's speak to the associations and the value that these suppliers and customers can gain from these things, and just kind of touch on your experience. I mean, I'll speak. I mean, I didn't know of Integrated prior to really being on the board, Integrated Packaging and Jill's company. And now they're a supplier to our distribution company, and there's a partnership there, and there's a relationship with AFP and VTM that has started to grow. And I don't think these things happen with just random, calls. I think it just takes longer maybe. But let's just speak to our experience and the value that we've seen in the associations.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I've been, on the board for, I think, almost a year now, and I've really got to interact with my fellow board members as well as fellow people in the association. Now they know Integrated's name. They know who we are, what we do. Before people used to thought we sold like the packaging machines. I'm like, no, I do the packaging for you. So it was kind of a better way to get our name out there and to tell people what we do and how we can help you and how we can work with the importers or the manufacturers, and you could drop ship direct to us and we can check the product. So, less hands and less on freight and everything. Cause like I always tell my customers, I'm like, we don't sell cotton balls. So, it's easier if it just ships one way and then one way back to you. Yeah. So, I think the association is a great benefit for networking, on a business level as well as a personal level. I've really enjoyed working with Jake over the last year. Like we always knew each other before then, but I never really knew Jake or John or Bob or, George. And it was always, very surface kind of relationships. And now I feel like I have a good group of friends out of, being a part of the board and everything. And I'm really thankful for all of you guys and, how we work together, BTM, I do packaging for you, it kind of works in a nice way for everybody. I help you, you help me, and I enjoy it.
And I think that's across, that's just not our business relationship with the asset. I think you see that across the industry.
Yeah.
No matter even competitors sometimes helping each other out. John, you just recently, You just recently jumped on the Pac West board.
Yeah, it's been 1 year now. Very happy to be associated with the Pac West Fastener Association. I spent 21 years in the fastener industry, in the Midwest from Wisconsin.
Great state of Wisconsin.
Thank you. Great state of Wisconsin. Thank you. Go Pack, go. All right. So that'll piss off a lot of people.
We are recording this the day after the beloved White Sox did not advance in the playoffs. So we're sorry.
Yeah, it's no good.
Okay, let me know when you guys are done with that. All right, so it is Bear Week, by the way. We are recording on the 13th. But getting back to the associations and what they bring, I had worked in proprietary fasteners, so the special rivets, lock bolts, inserts, things of that nature. But I really hadn't known standard product. And then we had a gentleman come into our facility by the name of Ed Lacera, Fast Eddie Lacera.
I've heard good things about the man, yeah.
I love Ed Lacera. He was the best.
And Eddie came in, and he was a rep, and he was one of the best in the industry, I'll say that. And he came in and showed me how fasteners were made without actually going to a facility to see how product is made. But he just showed me how what the different thread pitches are for like sheet metal screws, which I had never really learned before. I just knew the standard coarse and fine thread, but actually getting to know how products made, what the capabilities are, what a screw machine can do, what a cold header can do. So Eddie was on the board at that time, and he introduced me into the Midwest Fastener Association, and we were members for many years, the company that I worked with, and we are, Olander is associated with we're a member of the Midwest Fastener Association, North Coast, Southwest, Pac West, and CFA. So the knowledge that you gain, you get the social aspect of it, and you meet a lot of friends. But in business, you can learn from the individual companies what products that you don't know. Okay, we all know what we know, but it's what you don't know. That's what's important. To be able to sell products, you have to know the parts that you're quoting to be able to know the capabilities. Recently, I was at the Midwest Fastener Week with you guys, and I took a print reading class that Mike Henry had put out. And that was a great class. Yeah, it was a refresher class, but you're always going to learn something, no matter what kind of re-education. I've had it before, so it was a great class, and that's what the associations bring. They bring education, and that's a big part of what we learn.
Yeah, and the aspect of education is, and it's kind of, you can say it about anything, you get out of it what you put in it, but the networking aspect of it. But I think you guys had a pretty good group in that class, that print reading class. I think we had anywhere from around 35 participants, and just all over the spectrum of the industry. And it's just things like that, whether you're a somewhat seasoned veteran and it's a refresher. I mean, you're there, right? You're there investing your time in Olander, in educating yourself. But the other aspect of it is getting our new coworkers, people that are new to the industry, and not hitting them with a fire hose of information, but just more of a drip aspect of it, to where they can take it in a little bit easier, as opposed to just way too much all at once.
Yeah, exactly. They had the Fastener Training Week there for the entire week, and we had the only individual that aced the test, which was Ann Slates, our Southern California business development manager. She actually got every answer right, and that is a lot more questions than when I took that CFS class, that's for sure. And I actually missed one question, so I was very impressed with Ann and what she did. The print reading class did have a smaller amount of people in there, but you had myself, an industry veteran, if I may say so. Heidi Voltrauer was in there. We had salespeople, we had purchasing people, we had new people to the industry that didn't know the difference between cold heading, screw machine, any of that type of work. So it really educates the employees of our businesses. And that's what's so important, to be a part of an association, to educate your personnel. So we have myself and another individual at Olander that does training classes. But you're only going to know what we know. And if you get other people that will come in or attend a class, you're going to get an outside perspective on education and what you might learn from them. So it's quite important. I should get off my soapbox.
No, it's huge. Yeah. Go ahead, Joe.
I took a class, 15 years ago at the MWFA. And I think it was called Fastener 101. And I remember, Ed Lacera was there. Bill Vodica from All-Star came in, and he was teaching us about cold heading. And there was just so many things. And the different classes that the association offers really is helpful because they do it in segments. Then they have the plating and the heat treating classes. And so you don't have to take it all in at one time, but it's easier to learn as we're going along. And it's not like one solid week of things. It's, do one this month, and then 2 months from now, there's another one. And it really helps you absorb what you learned from that first class and then understand the next class when you're doing those things. And, I'm very thankful for things like that have helped me as I've been in the industry, almost 20 years now. It's helpful. I wouldn't know what I know if I didn't have help along the way.
I don't believe it's been 20 years, Joe.
Next year, 20 years.
It's crazy.
So.
Now, John said 20 years. I'd believe that.
That was what got me with the Tough Mudder. It's like, I'm 59 years old. I needed teamwork in order to get through that. And we definitely...
We did it, baby.
We did it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All the way from there, all the way to Bob Bear's place, having pizza out on his deck and a couple cold beers with everybody. That was just a blast.
Yeah, I still owe him a couple deck chairs, by the way. And,
oh boy.
But I'm not going to go into details.
I heard about it. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, dang it. I was hoping that didn't make it out, but I just introduced it again. So
no, I'm kidding.
It'll be on Link Magazine, by the way. In the beginning, they have such great articles in Link Magazine. Tracy, you're welcome. It'll be in there, I'm sure.
Okay, lovely. So, last week, just kind of scrolling through the social media, and all of a sudden, I, come across the news of where Linfast purchased Solution Industries, and John Coolham Butler, you're the voice of Solution Industries, and my thought is just it's such an ever changing industry. It's just never dull. But I always kind of have it in my mind that you look at a company that's been around for a long time, and you meet the people there, and they're just and Solution's a solid company. We buy a little bit from them, but then to get bought, it just kind of was like I don't think anyone saw that coming at all. So it's just one of those surprises.
Yeah, I thought you were going to ask where Let's Go Brandon or something like that when you talk about social media, but I guess not. Yeah, quite a surprise.
We can start that at the end as we sign off.
I had to go look yesterday at what that actually was meant, by the way. Anyway, I had talked with John Riddell at the Midwest Fastener Week, and he hadn't mentioned anything. And anytime there's acquisitions that are going, no one is going to talk about this to muddy any of the waters, that's for sure. But I did hear that there was some big news that was going to be coming down the road, but no one was talking with anything. I talked with Jim Jordan and Jason, I believe, and had a drink after one of the training sessions there during the Fastener Week. And
that shocks me.
That they didn't know, or they wouldn't tell me, or that we were having a beer.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, one of those. So it was quite a surprise. Now, I have not received any contracts from anyone regarding the voice of Solution Man and the tattoo, whether it's going to be the traditional red and yellow or whether it's going to be the green and yellow. But hey, I digress. I'll just leave it out there and wait for something or my agent to get informed.
Well, the green and yellow kind of goes with your Packers, right?
It does. That would be an awesome tattoo right next to my clover as well. You know, my clado on my arm. I am getting a tattoo of Solution Man, so I'm glad it wasn't completed so that I'd have to have another one in a different color. But hey, it's all negotiable.
Well, best of luck. Like you said, it's just ever changing. You never know. And then, I just the reaction on social media was kind of funny. I think I did a GIF or GIF. I don't know what the kids call it these days, but
it's one of those. Yeah,
it's one of those, right? I'm 50% right or wrong, and like. There's one of Chris Farley back in the Tommy Boy days or something that he's raising up his glasses or something, his shades. And so, it was just interesting in that aspect of it.
Well, that's the whole thing with acquisitions. You know, many of these companies they acquire, and are they just going to buy and sell the company, or are they going to add to it? We look at Lindstrom is a fantastic company that's been around for a long time, and I don't see them selling it off. Not sure exactly, what their plans are. With that, I know it shocks you. I'm not in the know about this, but hopefully, further episodes of Fully Threaded Radio, we will find more information about what they're doing.
John, it's like you've been out for a week or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I was just out at Bandon Dunes for 6 rounds over 5 days with friends of mine here at the Villages Retirement Community.
Must be nice, huh, Jill?
I love the Villages. I've been there a few times. It's a nice place to be.
I'm the only one that hasn't been.
See? But yeah, what an awesome place. If you ever want to go spend some money, Bandon Dunes was fantastic. Yeah, it's just beautiful scenery, great time, couple drinks, but great golfing.
Good to get away. Probably needed a little bit of mental health with everything going on right now, right?
Well, yeah, you look at the changes in our industry and what is going on. If you can't make money nowadays, something's going wrong. Hire me as a consultant, I tell you, because business is fantastic. We look at pricing that's increasing. Lead times are getting longer. You can't get a short inch button socketed cap screw in stainless or an alloy steel. It's few and far between.
Yeah.
I couldn't find a flat washer the other day. It was very upsetting. The things that I don't want to worry about that we have to worry about now,
And the aspect, if you do find it, you look at the price compared on what you paid. Jill, what do you guys see? You're kind of on both sides of distribution, and then on the packaging side, what are things getting any better, or is it still pulling your hair out?
I mean, we're busting at the seams at both locations. I mean, it's a good problem to have, but we've had an issue in Illinois with hiring people. Everyone's needing warehouse workers and stuff like that. So that was a struggle, and we just got over that hurdle. But now, like increases in bringing stuff in from overseas, you're getting hit with what's the bounty on a container right now. So like things like that we're having to deal with that, we might have not budgeted for that.
Yeah.
Taking hits like that, but everything is moving along. At the end of the day, I just want to make sure the customers are happy and they get what they want. But everyone's like, like as far as integrated goes, like, oh, this part took 8 weeks later to make. I need it right now. And it's like, well, I have a 400 jobs in front of you. Like I can't just throw it on, So that's kind of where our problems lie in terms of I can't keep everyone happy. So I'm trying to, I'm open and honest with everyone when I tell them, get me it as soon as possible because, our lead time doesn't really start till your product gets in our door. So It's stuff like that we've been dealing with. And on the fastener side, the issues, the material shortages are the real thing. And do I have enough volume to have someone make it? But then if we make it, then what's that lead time look like, So
yeah. I've had to move parts around. I've had to cancel some stuff and place elsewhere, and you're really just crossing your fingers. There's no one's doing any type of break-in or anything like that. They just don't really have the room to move anything in. The aspect of customer service is we're all service based. But are we hearing from some customer? I mean, I have an example that really I just got that I can kind of. A guy sent an email into one of my guys with BTM, and it was a pretty small order, just some U-bolts with nuts, and the customer wants to cancel because they said that it took too long. And I'm like, well, that's interesting. And I just looked it up, and we had gotten the order on the 4th of October and shipped it on the 7th.
Well, what happened, Jake? Can't you be faster than that? My customers would be thrilled with a 3-day turn rate.
And we're just talking, maybe a couple $100, but I'm just like, was there a disconnect on what the customer end user was expecting and we just didn't communicate it? Or is it maybe they just don't need it? Maybe they lost the order or something. I don't know. But it just kind of in talking, just the day in, day out aspect of what we hear from customers. And I always say, a good buyer, which I have, I used to buy day in and day out before I started doing more BTM stuff, was a good buyer kind of acts oblivious to the surroundings around them, right? And tries to get the best deal possible.
Right. And that tells you how important these individuals are, right? I mean, a great purchasing agent that develops relationships with many different vendors has choices of where they can go. And that's what's so important these days. You put all your eggs in one basket, and whether it's a customer or whether you're a fastener distributor or if you're a manufacturer, if you put them all in one basket, you're going to have issues. Talking about this, we're looking at how hard it is to find people. Jill, you had mentioned you are having issues with the warehouse. I have a person that just retired that is a business development manager. So I'm hiring for the Bay Area. We're looking for additional people up in Washington and also in our Sacramento facility. But as we grow and continue to grow, getting good people is hard to do. You have to get the word out, and using something like Fully Threaded Radio is just an awesome key to doing this and getting the word out. But talking with each other and networking and saying, hey, Jake, if you hear of anybody, let me know that's in my area that's looking for a job. LinkedIn is a fantastic way to find personnel, and I think that's the best way. What are some ways that you guys find personnel from warehouse, which is different, all the way up to executive or sales level?
Yeah, I think we've had history. I mean, just from warehouse, we're currently looking for a driver. We had a part-time driver that just recently passed in middle of September, and he was a great man, and he had driven pretty much all of his life, and he worked for us 3 days a week and just loved the customers, loved it, and just had some health issues and passed. And trying to replace him has almost been impossible. I mean, we started looking, mid to late September, but I don't know what it is. You get everything lined up and then they just cancel at the last minute. And I don't know if it's the process to continue, unemployment and I understand it, but I can't even get them in the door.
I know.
So
we had
that's
the same
the
problem.
hard part.
I think we were like 1 for 4 for interviews last month. So we'd have 4 scheduled and 1 would show up, and then, they'd be mediocre. Like, do you want to take a chance on this guy? But I'm trying to give everyone a chance, but, I've done the employee referrals. I've tried the temp route. I've tried headhunters, whatever I can do to keep our customers happy, I'm trying to do. But I'm really like drawing straws, like I think in the last 2 weeks, we've hired 15 people, which is the most I've hired in a year. And that came from an employee that we hired that had friends that also had friends, and it just kind of worked out really well. They're not all still there, but, I think we're down to 12 now. But yeah, I think they just jump, for $1. So that's what the problem is. But like, just communicate with me and talk to me, and, we could work something out. If you're a good worker, we'll figure it out. But it's just, they just don't talk anymore. They just leave and don't come back. And
yeah, I had I've hired more people. We had more turnover just with I'll say retiring and just moving on to other things. And it's the ones that you're unexpected. And I just had a mentality. We've been blessed to have long-term employees, and that has just changed over the last probably, I'll say 3 to 4 years. And our hiring process, I've totally changed for the aspect of if somebody came in and I had a pretty good pulse, I could talk myself into finding them a position. And it never worked out that way. So our hiring process now is multiple interviews. That includes really kind of a last final interview, a spousal interview, if they're, they're married or it's not perfect by any means, but it just slows the process down to where both sides feel like they're getting the best fit. Yeah. But I can't get people in the door, which is just frustrating as all get out.
I know it's hard, and I feel like we have a good place to work. We have room to grow. Like I started off as the receptionist 20 years ago. Now I'm the president of the company. Like if you work really hard, like that's something I really believe in, and I'll make a spot for you. So I feel like I can talk to people about that and tell them, like there's always room at the table. So just if you work, we have something for you. So I just don't get the opportunity to tell people that or tell them my story of how I got where I was and how that is what our company does. And I think that's really important.
Yeah, the days now are instant gratification. Everybody wants everything now without having to put much into it. Business has changed with COVID from people from working from home. A lot of people want to continue that. They don't want to go into an office position. It's very difficult when you have a low hourly wage position. People can make more money on unemployment. Now that's changing from what I understand, and I don't understand much of it these days, that's for sure. But it's very hard to keep good people. You have to pay them higher than what is the norm in order to keep them, but you have to be able to do so if you want to have good employees that will have good output.
Yeah, and I think the culture word works. I think you see that, and if you can build upon it. And that's the one thing that I've tried to change here. Working for your parents, with your parents. I tell my people, my dad and I are completely different when it comes to leading and managing. He's old school. That's probably the best definition for it. And I'm probably a little bit mix of, sunshine and lollipops, a little bit old school.
Yeah.
And I think and not that there's anything wrong with it. Everybody has their own way of leading and trying to build that culture to where you want people, like you said, Jill, to come join a team and look to grow. Yeah. And say, you know what, I just don't want to fill orders. And I love it when somebody comes in and says, I don't expect to fill orders 10 years from now or 5 years from now. Yeah. I want to get into sales. I want to do, maybe some VMIs and kind of start to, work on the sales side, commission, just different aspects of the industry that keep all of us going.
And I want to put this out there, if I can, for employers. Our HR person got us into LinkedIn Learning so that people can grow. They're learning new skills. We as managers recommend certain classes. So if it's an inside person, take classes that will show you how to become an outside salesperson, how to negotiate, right? LinkedIn has a great aspect with that, and we can add our own videos or the trainings from FTI that are offered. We actually incorporated those into our learning so that we try to educate the employees, get them trained so that they can move up. Because as you said, most people do not want to stay in the same position doing the same work for 10 years or for 20 years.
Yeah. Just kind of looking at, you guys have any like quick stories from customers that are just shocked by pricing or just like kind of make you fall out of your chair by their reaction on you getting back to them on a price increase or a lead time or anything like that? It's just oblivious to what's going on for the last, I don't know, 10, 12 months.
I mean, they complain about it, but then, I'll show them a chart like this is where steel was a year ago and this is where we are today. And, I'm showing them, different options and different angles we could go so that we could get around the old price. But, I really don't recommend buying a 2-year volume at, the world we're living in today, because in a year from now, it might be back to a year ago. It might not be, but we just don't know. So don't freak out and buy everything, because that's why we have all the shortages that we have, because people did that. And just buy what you need now, and we're just going to go with the flow and see where we are in 6 months, because I could tell that a lot of the buyers that I work with are stressed out, and I haven't really seen that from them before. And I don't get stressed very easily. I try to do everything, and help everybody, but some days is harder than others. You just get smacked with something that you weren't expecting to happen. Like, we were airing some parts in from China, and they're like, oh, the plane was quarantined because the people had COVID, and now your plane has to sit for 2 weeks. And then I'm like, well, it really isn't an air freight now is it? Because it's 2 weeks.
I hope
you'll still have to pay.
Exactly. It's just like, how did I get hit with that luck? Like, why? So it's just, we're just kind of all going with it. And, people freak out and yell, and I'm like, look, this is how it is right now. This is just the world we live in. So
yeah, and I've found that freaking out and swearing and yelling doesn't really help the matter whatsoever, outside of maybe burning a bridge or two.
I try to talk them off the ledge. Like, dude, we're all in this together. Like, we're going to get through it. Just, you got to understand where I'm coming from. Like, all your other parts, I'm sure they went up. Why are you hitting the fastener girl here? Because I'm sure my parts don't cost half as much as the other things for your assemblies or whatever you're building. So
we'd all be better if we could sing a little High School Musical together, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Take the lead. So I look at the different aspects and go, okay, what Jill had just said, you're already buying sheet metal. You're buying different products. That the prices are going up. You can expect that the fastener industry is no different, that you're going to have a price increase. What was your price last week is not your price this week. Things change. We just had one of the big importers come through with a letter with the price increase. Well, the prices have been increasing all along. You don't need a letter to state that prices are going up. We know that. It's great to have that if your customer wants a copy of a letter or something like that. Last year, we had a contract manufacturer that came to us and said, this is a new guy that comes in, right? That the company was sold, and now we have an equity company coming in, and they hire this guy to reduce the costs down. And he says, well, we're going to increase our business twofold. So therefore, we're going to give you orders for the entire year that will be twice as much. And therefore we expect a X amount reduction in costs. Well, that's not happening. Costs are going up, even if you give me an order for twice what you bought last year.
Exactly.
I can't squeeze that out of the parts. Everything is going up, and we're in Silicon Valley here. It's not inexpensive here, so it's really hard to do. But they could not imagine that I couldn't move the amount that they want. Sure, you want a 1 or 2%? I'm more than happy to. Okay, but I'm already on this one at X amount, which is unacceptable, and this one I could move a little bit. I get it. You can do some of that, but it's not where you can just make dollars appear because we're not, millionaires.
No. Well, yeah, I try to show them like raw material costs. My husband works at the Chicago Board of Trade, so I'll have him send me whatever material it is that we're looking at so I could give him a graph, and the graph seems to like help them and make them feel at ease a little bit about what the cost is. Like, I'm not increasing my margin. I'm maintaining my margin and passing the price along to you because otherwise we wouldn't have a business. So that's just how it goes.
Yeah, I had a customer send us forecast through 2023.
What are you going to do with that? Thanks, but
I just glanced at it and but can you imagine? I mean, and to the flip side of it, so you want me to go ahead and buy it, and if I'm sitting on it and I'm selling it to you at that pricing 2 years from now, that's not going to be beneficial for your company.
No. I mean, I look at the blanket orders like we had before, like COVID happened. And then, we had some customers that were hit heavily by the impact of COVID. And we got screwed with those blanket orders. I wouldn't want to sit on things for 2 years or accept an order for 2 years. That's just risky for everybody. What if there changes? What if they need a different screw or the U-bolt diameter changes, whatever? Like, that's not something that I think either party wants to do at this point.
Nobody ever changes your U-bolt diameters.
Well,
no, you're right. They do. Yeah. And then they forget to tell us. And then,
Yeah, I know.
It happens. Let's kind of wrap up just kind of what we got industry-wide kind of going on. John, I'll let you touch on Pac West. Jill, if you want, I know we've got some stuff coming up with Midwest. And then if you guys will indulge me, I'll close it out and invite all of my Fastener friends to the Fastener Bed Challenge.
All right. So with the Pac West Fastener Association, we do have a joint conference with the Southwestern Fastener Association in San Antonio. That's the 20th through the 23rd. You can still register. There's going to be a golf outing. There's a barbecue, bourbon, and beer cruise. That sounds very interesting.
Sign me up.
Yeah, buddy. So that happens down in San Antonio. You can still do that. We also have the Mel Kirshner golf outing, which is always a rather large outing, and it's coming up on November 5th. We also have the holiday parties that are in the works as well for December. So visit pacwest.org for information on that. Olander, I'm very happy to say, is going strong, and it's just a great company to work for. So if you're looking for a position in the fastener industry, please give me a shout.
They're hiring at Olander.
We are all.
Yes.
We are all hiring, just so everyone knows.
not just Olander and John Butler. I need a driver.
Yeah. So as far as the Midwest Fastener Association goes, on November 4th, we're going to be having our scholarship awards dinner, and our guest speaker is going to be Ryan Sweeney. He is a former MLB player, and he will be there. And we will also be doing the election for the board of directors. Vote for me. And
vote for Pedro.
Good plug.
And we also are going to be doing our holiday dinner on December 9th. I don't have the time or where it's going to be yet, but save the date.
December 9th, we're going to try and have it at the Medina banquets that we do every year. I think that'll run probably 6 to 9:30, and then a small contingent of us will probably move over to the Addison bar and for a nightcap.
All right.
I'm not speaking from experience. I'm just from what I've been told.
I think there'll be cigars, probably, right?
It's possible.
Possible.
If Buddenbaum's there, absolutely. We got to get him up there.
Kavoto.
Yes. Vishnu. all the good guys. Well, this has been fun. I appreciate you guys making time. Jill Lewis with Associated Fastening Products and Integrated Packaging, John Coolhand Butler with Olander, Jake Davis with BTM Manufacturing, and if you, like I said, indulge me, I've put it out on social media, but we're really excited. We're having a joint event between distribution and manufacturing, ISCO and BTM, with the Fastener Bed Challenge, which we were challenged by Parker Fasteners, and just really looking forward to the opportunity to get really our teams together, our community together, and we got a goal to build 50 beds. So if you want to come to Kansas City and help out, that would be fantastic. There's ways that you can donate online that we've put out on social media. So we're really looking forward to it. It's going to be a great day.
That's awesome, Jake. Thanks for doing that for people. And we can all give back in one way or another.
Right, and you can also tell them they could get some Kansas City steaks if they go there.
Absolutely. Come on. You just snuck in here, Brian.
I did. I've been lurking in the background for a while. Yeah. Okay.
We enjoyed the heck out of it.
Okay, cool.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Okay.
It was fun.
That's right.
BTM Manufacturing is a domestic ISO 9001 manufacturer of threaded fasteners and bent wire products. From anchor bolts to studs to U-bolts, BTM is committed to making your per print special with the highest quality standards while meeting your on-time delivery schedule. Since BTM began in 1961, this family-owned business has remained focused on providing exceptional service to their customers. Centrally located in Kansas City, Missouri, BTM recently expanded into a 100,000 square foot facility, which allows for the production and manufacture of many projects simultaneously, both large and small quantity. BTM's website at btm-mfg.com allows you to submit custom quotes quickly and easily, and once you do, a BTM team member will contact you as soon as possible to discuss your needs. Are you ready to get started? BTM is. Visit www.btm-mfg.com today.
Are you tired of empty promises from software vendors? Are you paying for support that you're not receiving? Is it time for another paid upgrade? There is a solution. InSequel delivers quality software designed for the fastener industry at an affordable price with industry-leading support. Quality software, affordable pricing, industry-leading support. Only InSequel can deliver all three. www.inxsql.com.
Our goal at Star Stainless is to be your #1 stainless supplier. As an industry, we've been through a lot together over the years, and you've always been able to depend on us as your trusted partner. It's been that way for over 70 years. I'm Tim Roberto, the president of Star. Today, we're faced with supply chain pressures like never before, but you can continue counting on Star to have the quality stainless parts you need with the fastest possible delivery times. None of us can be sure how conditions will change or when certain items will become hard to get, but at Star Stainless, we have the resource and stocking capabilities to bring what you need when you need it. Thanks for working with us all these years. Together, we will make it through.
Hi, this is Dave, the voice of Buckeye Fasteners and Old Rusty Gold Beer, the preferred beer of the traveling salesman. And you are listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
Bride, during that conversation when Jill was talking about being carried away downriver on the Tough Mudder course.
Right.
I'm telling you, man, she was being carried downriver. If it wasn't for GH3 and, Bob Wegner, he helped out a little bit too. But, they saved her because when we crossed that river, we were supposed to wait. It was the Kishwaukee River, which I used to fish a lot when I was in college. And we crossed that thing. There was some rope railings that they'd provided, and they warned everybody, stay kind of close to the ropes because, but did we? Well, not really. When we got towards the end, they didn't realize it was scoured out there. That was where the hole was. She fell right in. She's a little bit, shorter than everyone else, and whoosh.
Right. Well, downriver, people would have been able to save it because Lynn and I were standing on a bridge a fair ways downriver with a telephoto lens trying to get a picture. You couldn't really easily walk over to get there.
Well, George lives by the credo, no mudder left behind. So fortunately, that wasn't necessary, but it was really good of them to join us for that recap and that conversation. It was a lot of fun.
And we're very, very glad that George did not turn up in his white tuxedo for that event. So I just want to go back briefly to this additive manufacturing show that we went to, and it was in Detroit. And Frank DeVito got some tickets for us to all swap around between ourselves and go to it.
You're jumping back now to your comments about the Würth Additive segment.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Uh-huh.
And but one of the things, as well as having a 3D printed Lotus and motorbikes and numerous other things, they had one of the fairly large components of the Falcon Heavy rocket engine, which was fully 3D printed. In other words, this thing was made out of nitronic superalloy, I believe. So Elon Musk is in the forefront of a lot of this stuff. So to be relying on additive manufacturing to supply the parts for the rocket engines on the BFR, the big something rocket, is pretty amazing. Enormous power comes out of those engines, They've got to be very, very, very strong.
Yeah, I know a lot of people have this knock against additive manufacturing as though it'll never be accepted by the different certifying authorities, like in automotive, for example, the DFARS and everything. And, I guess there's hurdles there, but the fact is that components produced with additive manufacturing technologies are being used in some very mission-critical applications, aren't they?
Yeah, we've seen one of them, the tail assembly for the F-15. How much more important can you get?
Right. Well, we'll watch all this unfold, and thanks for bringing that up. I guess we've got a catbird seat for that, and the conversation we had with Achim Grenner from the Würth Additive Group is a case in point. Appreciate him being on the podcast today. Also, Jake Valdez Davis with BTM Manufacturing, John Coolhand Butler from the Olander Company, and Jill Lewis with Associated Fastening Products. We appreciate your freestyling conversation today, too.
Right.
It's nice to hand the mic over to a team like you guys now and then, and hope everyone enjoyed that. Also, Mike McNulty and Nick Ruetz. You guys did a great job today on the FDI. Mike, keep us posted. We know you will on your future baseball fan plans.
Right. Right. We're all very keen to know what's happening, okay?
That's right. And Carmen Vertullo, well, I don't even know what to say. We're going to have some other things to say about Carmen next episode, so maybe I'll just leave it there. But he had the Fastener Training Minute today. Thanks also to our sponsors on the episode. The title sponsors of Fully Threaded Radio are Brighton Best International, tested, tried, true. Brighton Best, Goebel Fasteners. Quality the first time, Goebel. Star Stainless Screw Company. Right off the shelf, Star. Fully Threaded Radio is also sponsored by Buckeye Fasteners, BTM Manufacturing, Eurolink Fastener Supply Service, Fastener Fair USA, Fastener Technology International, InSequel Software, ND Industries, Parker Fasteners, Solution Industries, Stelfast, 3Q Inc., Volt Industrial Plastics, and Würth Industry North America. Our email address is ftr@fullythreaded.com. Reach out anytime. We always appreciate your comments and the suggestions you might have for future guests. Maybe you'd like to be one, or topic areas you'd like us to cover. Most of all, thanks to you for listening to the podcast. Ultimately, that's where the tooling hits the bar around here. We couldn't do it without you.
Right.
Returning now to the great carpeting controversy of 2021. We're going to drop Morgan Wilson in here in a second. He emailed right away after the special report on IFE that we released a couple weeks back and just said he wanted to put a final word in on this. And I understand that. And, everybody experiences change in different ways. Some people are always uncomfortable with it no matter what you do. Who knows? Maybe they're onto something here, and this is the way that shows will all be. And we'll look back someday and say, can you imagine that we had carpeting in the hallway of shows? I can't believe we used to do that. I don't know.
Yeah, it is possible. It's possible. We just got used to the whole thing.
Right. Point is, it's been like that, and it wasn't like that this year. Here's what Morgan Wilson had to say.
So Emerald joined a sustainable committee back in 2020, and a lot of our events are starting to remove carpet throughout different trade shows. Now, it doesn't quite make sense with every trade show. We have some high-end boutique trade shows, which, it probably doesn't make as much sense, but on an industrial event like IFE, we thought it would make sense, and that's kind of the reason we did that. It was completely a sustainable effort. Freeman, our general contractor, they're only able to use carpet a handful of times, and then it has to get thrown away. So, yeah, I know there was some comments like maybe we were trying to save money, and yeah, let's not, beat around the bush. Of course, it did save some money, but that was not the goal. And with some of the savings that we made, we actually put back into the show, and we had 2 lounges this year. We added 2 bars that were full open bar throughout the entire event. And, this event, of course, was downsized from normal. So budgets are typically affected with that. But we were still able to do all the functions that we normally have, like our golf tournament, our welcome reception, which was full open bar, and all those fun activities. In hindsight, I don't think we did a good enough job communicating that. And so there was some comments of why we did that. But yeah, I think going forward, we'll be a lot clearer with the changes that we make.
So there you have it.
Wow. So Morgan had to specially put his rod down, get off the boat and do all this. I mean, I'm sure we interrupted him.
Tell you what, he's a hardworking guy. He fishes hard too.
I know. Yeah, fishes are big fish.
Yeah, he does a great job for Emerald. And one thing that we know is Emerald listens to what people have to say about the show. They take it very seriously. I'm anticipating 2022
plush carpeting.
Well, no, I wouldn't say that. I truly don't know. I'm not saying that this is backfired or not. I don't know. I'd be very interested. Maybe we should take a poll, put it on the next FDI survey. I don't know. But to me, the whole idea of, this idea of no carpeting seems like it's brought to us by the same people who, A, are preventing trucks older than 3 years from hitting the LA ports, and B, they want us all to be eating grasshoppers.
Possibly.
Neither of which I think is a good idea.
Well, you haven't enjoyed a plate full of fried grasshoppers yet?
Yeah. Haven't made it to that part of the world. I don't know. I think that will be a difficult adjustment for me to wrap my head around. Hopefully we'll never get there.
Right. Because you can always say, given the choice, I think I'll have a ribeye instead, okay?
Now you're talking. Well, see, that's where you went off the tracks, though. Choices are sometimes everything, and sometimes they're just not in the cards. We're living in that kind of world. Sound familiar, everyone?
We moved over to the alternate universe already.
We're deeply in the alternative universe, and we've been trying to keep the podcast really out of those questions, and I think we've been doing a pretty good job. Let's not let a little bit of carpeting here or there stand between having a good fastener show, putting out a good, predominantly fastener-related podcast. Let's just stick to fasteners, printers, and sprinters.
Okay. Right. Okay.
Those being 3D printers and Tough Mudder sprinters, everybody. And we thank you so much for listening in on this episode. Hope you'll join us next time. We'll be talking to O.J. Simpson of Stelfast. We'll also have a whole bunch of interviews for you from the floor of Fastener Fair USA.
Oh, yeah, right.
Looking forward to seeing you here in a couple weeks, Bri. We'll make sure to get some fishing in, assuming we're not caught in a blizzard at that time.
I know, right.
You never know here in the Midwest in November. But normally we can get the boat on the water for a couple of hours at least. Hey, if you're swinging out, folks, drop us an email. maybe you can jump in with us too. Who knows?
Yeah, and grab your ironclad gloves.
Ooh, good call. Yeah, we always carry several pairs in the boat. They're great for muskie fishing. Well, now we're really getting off subject, so we'll roll out of here. And I'll just say for Brian Musker, this is Eric Dudas. Get out there, sell some screws, eat some steak. We'll talk to you next time.
Right. Look forward to seeing you all next time, folks.
Fully Threaded Radio is a production of Fastener's Clearinghouse. Music provided by Audionautics.